Howdy, howdy everybody, welcome back to Counter's Casual Competition number 71. My name's Counterpip, and of course, I'll be bringing in a couple of co-casters for today. Spoilers in the title, I realise, making this a rather redundant thing to do, but hey, for anyone who's coming in for the very first time, here's a little idea of how everything's going to be working today. It's a 3-round competition, as always, designed to keep things nice and short and let people get out for the rest of their weekends as quickly as possible. We have 3 rounds. First round seeded by your rank. The second and third round seeded by a performance. During the course of the day, there'll be various giveaways, including a lot of giveaways just with participating in the competition, but there's also the clips giveaway, which I'm very behind on. But if you submit a clip in the clips channel, which is... where has it gone? I don't know, I think we ate it somewhere. Tournament clips, there we go. If you go into tournament clips and drop one in there, then you've got a chance to win yourself some RP once I eventually catch up on that. Our general giveaway information is here. For first and second place, they both get RP, and then 3 random players will get themselves some more. Let's see, anything else? Oh, I think that's all good. So, on to our co-casters for today. Well, so, on my immediate right, known from the NLC Division 2 and various other streams, ambitious, powerful beyond the point, it's Xica. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing okay. How you doing?
I'm doing alright. I'm doing alright. We're looking forward to seeing some NLC action. Is your team playing tomorrow?
I'm not on a team this far. I'm just doing broadcast stuff, which is even better for me because it's less stress.
Oh, in that case, well, where would you be sending your broadcast out to tomorrow?
I'm not sure if I'm on tomorrow. I'm not sure if we're doing one tomorrow. I don't have the full schedule in front of me. It's a bit slapdash, this split. We got notified very late that we were running it, so.
Oh, well, in that case, we'll come back to that later. To the right of my right, all the way from far-flung places, the scariest of all the phantoms, it's DeadlyGhost. How you doing, Deadly?
I'm doing great, Counter. Thank you for having me. Don't, please. I'm not scary.
I'm not scary, I'm just deadly.
I'm just deadly.
It wasn't intentional, I promise.
I'm doing good. I'm having a good start to the weekend, hoping for some great TFT games, and I want to see some good TFT being played.
Well, you know, from each of you, what kind of compositions have you been playing lately when the opportunity has arisen? Being able to slip in any of our newly buffed punk games, perhaps?
No.
No, not a punk aficionado? How about you,
I'm
guys?
known.
Well, being a punk music enthusiast, I have played a little bit of the new punk meta, and I have found some success with it. I think there are a few comps that might still edge it out a little bit when it comes to the later stages of the game. Once you hit those level 9-10 boards, however, I think it's a very decent comp to get a solid top 4, top 3.
All right, well, very nice. So yeah, I mean, we are relatively deep into patch 14.2 with a few changes around the place, but it's kind of interesting because we're relatively close to getting towards into championship territory. So I think in terms of like large changes, things are slowing down a little bit. But Xica, I know your particular skill set lies in the providing of good advice and mentorship for players and things. So for our players who are playing today, who may be watching the stream, for anyone who's maybe coming from outside and is thinking about participating in tournaments in the future, what wise words would you use to buoy up their spirits today?
Don't overthink. That's the biggest thing that anybody can ever do. I know it's a game of thought, so it sounds really silly. It's a tactic strategy-based game. But the more you overthink things, the harder you're going to find it to actually get into a position of success within any game. Because as soon as things start to get more complicated in your brain, you'll start making sillier and sillier mistakes. So I think that is the biggest piece of advice I can give anybody looking to compete in any game. Is just don't overthink what you're doing. Rely on the knowledge that you have and the skill that you have, and that will carry you so far.
I gotta ask, because people always say this, and I'm like, I need more clarification. I need to narrow in here. How do you differentiate between regular thinking and overthinking?
When you're second guessing every decision you make, you're overthinking.
Okay.
It's
Deadly
okay
Ghost.
to have a doubt or two, but
What do you think, or perhaps overthink about this?
Well, my first thought would be trust your guts, but then the overthinker in me says, "Oh God, I'm getting a cash out. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Do I need to transfer my board? Do I need to do this?" And that is the classic example of overthinking, which you should not be doing.
see, my advice works.
Oh, we were already better people from just having had this brief conversation. Wet Noodles is going to be on the admin side of things and observing today. An ambitious young upstart coming into the esports industry. Who knows what he'll be doing by a few weeks' time? He's probably going to be running the LEC. But yeah, we'll see how that works out. Oh, he's taking a nap. Okay, well that's important too. She could, I don't know if you're also a sports coach as well, but what's the, in terms of ranking the most important parts of a TFT player's play, how important would you say napping is in the grand scheme of things?
Depends on the person. If you're someone who's got a pretty regular sleep schedule, getting your full 8 hours, definitely, like, still worth doing. I mean, there's a reason that so many European countries do take that time to have the midday siesta. Just saying, a good sleep schedule, good sleep health is very, very important. Keeps your mind active, and for a game that's all about thinking, it's kind of important.
Jumping in on this, as a person who does not get their full 8 hours of sleep, I like. Well, between some raid timings and a few things I like to do in the afternoon because working in from 8 to 4, I like to sneak in a little nap in the afternoon, just to get my mind fresh and ready for that TFT grind. So if you don't get your full 8 hours, make sure it's at least a 5 or 6, and then get a slight power nap in the afternoon. I would like to say at like 30 minutes to an hour.
I think, yeah, that makes sense. Also, shout out to MZ in the chat. Lovely to see you. I think that's definitely the Spanish thing as well, is that they work really, really hard, and they also do have classically the siesta, because they work until like 10 at night and then get up at 9 in the morning, and like that doesn't make sense, but it somehow comes together. Alright, so on to today. So, as you mentioned, things have stayed relatively stable in the TFT meta for the time being. We've seen Disco drop down a bit in popularity. Karthus is still there, though built a little bit differently, more towards the casting speed. Are there any compositions, Xica, that you're perhaps excited to see take part here today?
I will always push 2 comps. That's just because I enjoy playing them myself. Whether they're good or not is irrelevant to me most of the time. But that's Big Shot and Heartsteel. I adore playing these 2 comps. They're a lot of fun to play. I especially like playing Big Shot and watching Ezreal go, "Oh, I'm sorry, you wanted to play the game? I'm just gonna blink over here and then wipe your entire board with an R."
How about you, Deadly?
Well, I can't say I differ too much from Drew, seeing as Counter, you should know this very well. I was the Heartsteel unofficial aficionado for Heartsteel. However, the changes that have come in have basically made it that Heartsteel is much more similar to Set 9's Underground trait, where after a few rounds you can opt to either cash out or raise the stakes. Where if you get a win, you lose your stacks. However, it's still Underground had the benefit of like still granting you some stacks on your vaults, whereas Heartsteel immediately punishes you for winning. So I think a more optimal way to do it would be winning during going for a win streak during stage 2, and then try to go for like that massive loss streak in stages 3 and 4 and get that big cash out, because it's difficult to get a hard steel 5 unless you hit massively out of those loot orbs.
Alright, I believe we are going to be getting our game started in just a second. Just making sure everything is Gucci over here. As we will be having, as I mentioned before, we're now moving into the brave new environment of having observer mode active on the live server, so it means we've got a lot more going on, but let's give it a try. So our admin and our observer is Wet Noodles. Please do give them a little bit of oh, hello. I think we're still having a bit of a tweak around here, so we'll bring us back to us for a second while things are getting fully set up there. Oh no, okay, there we go. Lovely. So we have things officially underway here today. Let me just bring up our table to show you who we've got on. Of course, nobody's got any points as yet, but these will be our players for this particular one, including MZ. Of course, MZ's actually taking part in the competition as well, so we'll be keeping a close eye on how she does today. We're starting off here with one of the newly powerful augments potentially in play for one of our players there, the extended play, which pushes you down a particular route, but we've also got the metal heads here for MZ, which means you're committed into the pentakill from the very beginning.
That could be terrifying.
Yeah, that is definitely a very interesting comp to go for, especially since you're going for the newly and one would say improved pentakill champions in the Kale and the Karthus. But if you get that 7th pentakill going, you could deal massive amounts of damage.
Be excited to see just how that goes.
We've got some interesting starts here for some of our players. So we've got the Rich Get Richer from KDR, with the potential move towards Disco long term. Over on Leaving side of things, we did see the return on investment, so another, not necessarily directly direct move towards Punk, but still a organ that's extremely specific towards them. And I know we were talking a little bit before the broadcast started about the power of Olaf. That is in place here for Jinx. I don't know how to say that name. Jinx CXD, something like that.
Yeah, probably. I think you got it most of the way there. But yeah, speaking about Olaf, he is currently one of the most powerful one costs that you can carry even into the late game with. And the augment that is Gargantuan Resolves only benefits Olaf massively. So I am very interested in seeing that board and how it will develop.
I am very interested to see just how contest goes across the board for the rest of the game, because again, we're already seeing a lot of Olafs coming through from multiple different players, right? We've got someone locked into Metalheads already. I'm very interested to see how the game plays out with so many people looking to run pentakill units.
Oh, sorry, just a second. I'm just going to try and modify things a bit. This is the first time we're trying getting our observing feed remotely, and it seemed like it's having a little bit of a struggle bus. So I'm going to see if we can get our feed in a slightly different way. We're doing it live. There we go.
Oh.
There we go. Hopefully that will... No, that's... that doesn't work very well. Let's see. Alright. Cool. Sorted. Sorry, I've been very distracted by trying to get everything working. This is what happens when we're operating at the bleeding edge of technology. Is that no one's got any clue as to what's going on. But alright, let's... so we've got my Noodles providing observing for this. Noodles, I don't know if you could take us through and just refresh our memory on what everybody is playing in the early lobbies, because there's, as we've already seen, there's quite a lot of stuff going on. So we've got Mentally Scarred is running the pentakill. As Drew, as you noted, we've got the contest going through there. Are you at all? You said you were a little bit worried about the it being a contested line of play. Do you think that's going to be a major issue?
I think it might as the game goes on. Because, of course, as you get later into Pentakill, you're looking at units like Viego and Karthus, which don't have a huge number of units in the pool anyway. So if you can't get off the ground with something like, the Olaf 3 or a decent Pentakill headliner early, the Kale being another prime example on this patch as well, you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're going to have to transition. And if you transition a round or two too late, it could be the end of your first round pretty quickly, because we are seeing so many different pentakill units come out from so many different players.
Yeah, I think I can definitely agree with Drew here, and there's also a little bit of how, okay, let's rephrase this. Pentakill is very easy to contest and difficult to force aboard, because for the later stages, I mean, because you don't have a lot of 3 costs in the in the comp outside of Mordekaiser. So Mordekaiser carry is not the best one, and like Drew said, the 4 costs being then Viego and the Karthus, which you don't have a lot of in the pool, with the pools being nerfed, just makes it that much harder for people to force and run a comp.
Oh, and I think Chucky picked up on something which we completely missed while everything was on fire on our end, which is that Levin has apparently picked up a Jinx 3 from the very beginning of the game, which is pretty outrageous, despite the fact we've got a player called Jinx in the lobby. They're not the ones to do that, so I don't know if we can go and confirm, Noodles, if that's the case. That's not a 3-star Jinx, is it? No.
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 Oh, sorry, right, Chucky's coming from a different lobby. My apologies, thank you, Noodles, for clarifying that, while also observing. Alright, well, I mean, this start is pretty decent, though. We've got some very nice itemization, even if our front line isn't that great, and we've got the Tactician's Crown coming in for leaving long term, but Jinx and Nala We Lost are the 2 players who are undefeated right now, and they're going face-to-face against each other.
And this is... I'm not sure if this has just been me not paying enough attention, but I've not seen Nawi Lost's board as yet. And it seems like a bit of a mishmash of everything at the moment. So I'm very, very interested that they've only just taken their first loss now, towards the end of round or stage 2. Because I think I saw a Nami, Xante, and a Garen were the ones that caught my eye there. So you're looking at Sentinel more than... Yeah, Sentinel Mosher as... Spec doesn't like us spectating now. We lost, apparently.
Censored.
No,
yeah.
definitely.
Okay, well, the spectator is still relatively new, so we can only apologise for that. We'll see if that persists longer term. KDR the Great and Monsieur La Chèvre. My French is terrible, so I can't even begin to know how to say that one. Along with Diamond in My Heart, there are, I believe, our current 3 lost streaking players in some form or the other. Let's see, so what's Monsieur got going on? Oh, a trade sector disco board. Well, this is a bit spicy. And KDR's got a similar thing going on, though, with the rich got richer instead of the trade sector.
Suddenly this throws a lot of things up in arms. I mean, we were talking a bit before the stream started about the changes to Disco and how it's a little bit less reliable with changes to Twisted Fate. But seemingly we've got 2 players who are more than happy to run it in this game. And I mean, if they can get it off the ground and going, especially with how much contest Pentakill is getting in this lobby, they might just be in a very good spot to do well. Although, I'm not 100% sure if both of our players are going to get to a point where they are strong enough to be able to run over the game with it.
Yeah, I think one of those players might just might just actually opt out of it, because I'm seeing the Infinity Edge on the Nami. I'm seeing a lot of the even shroud that's all about armor shred. So I am thinking it's just a board that is right there. They hit some units. They got a decent headliner, a decent early game comp that will allow them to go on a loss streak and try not to lose too much HP during stage 2. But more on that later, because we're heading into augments.
Alright, so it's gold into gold. I think we are, let's see, trying to figure out who we are with at the moment. We're with one of the disco players.
We're with Mashula Shover.
Ah, there we go. What are they going to go for? Okay, so they're committing into running some kind of vertical there. For the Jinx side of things, we're going to pick up a little bit more. Thank you very much, Alex, for showing us the... So we've got Gargantuan and Resolve's been in place for a while, Harm Assist as well. And now we've got Country and Pentakill active together, with a Country emblem on the Olaf. So presumably this is a very transitional piece, but it's a transitional piece that's working very well.
I'm thinking we might. Oh, sorry, Drew.
That's fine. Carry on.
I'm thinking that it might be just heading over into Yone territory for Jin CXT, because from what I've seen, like, those are fairly decent Yone items. Yone has not been touched and is still a very powerful unit, so we might just be witnessing some sort of weird transitioning Yone board.
I mean, certainly the Bruiser, sort of the tanky Bruiser itemization of the Titans and the Bloodthirst have got an enormous amount of flexibility. So we'll keep an eye on longer term. We're checking Immensely Scarred, who has seemed to have shifted that Spectator bug from before, and it's now headed into Heartsteel, however, temporarily. Mentally has definitely kept their augment choices very generic, as has Diamond, to allow for that flexibility to shift around. I think that suits the Heartsteel players in particular. I know, Drew, of course, you're a big fan of the Israel long term, but you don't have to necessarily play Heartsteel the whole game.
Absolutely not. You can definitely use this as a transitional trait, especially because if you are on one of these bigger loss streaks and you can get to Heartsteel 5, you're going to be getting a decent number of hearts over the course of the round anyway, and then with the loss as well. So if you can take very narrow losses, but keep staying on that loss streak, you're in a pretty good spot, generally speaking. So for example, this round, very, very good for Diamond My Heart, because you're not taking a massive loss, but you're taking enough of a loss to where you are getting yourself above that threshold. You can use it to cash out, get items, get effective econ for the rest of the game, which will then allow you to pivot into one of our stronger comps that we do tend to see, like something like a Viego or Karthus Pentakill board, or maybe transitioning straight towards the big shots, depending on what's available to you at any given point.
Leaving, Scarred, and Narwig lost, all managing to grab spatulas off of the carousel. One thing that does kind of strike me here is, I haven't kind of completely kept up with everybody's boards, is that we did see a fair amount of disco being played, which doesn't play super well with the spatula, but also a huge amount of pentakill coming through. So maybe we'll be seeing more players going into pentakill now they've got the spatula and the chance to get their emblem online.
Yeah, possibly so. Country now being able to be built out of a spatula, which is the Negatron cloak and the spatula, just means that we have more options for country, and Pentakill being unchanged. Spatula plus the chain vest. So I'm thinking, because we have seen some spatulas on the carousel, that we're going to see people transitioning over to those boards, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see who will hit first, and will we have a few flunk outs.
Oh, sorry, I've just been attacked by a puppy.
Aww. I will make comment quickly. I believe it was Mentally Scarred's board that we were looking at there just a second ago. And very interestingly to me, dropping the True Damage emblem onto the Aphelios with no other True Damage units seemingly on the board at that point. Definitely speaks to me as to scaling maybe a rapid fire true damage. Yeah, the true damage and rapid fire are both in effect now. So
Hmm.
could be looking towards a more of an Aphelios carry board, which isn't something we see very often, but in the right circumstance can really start to rip through a board.
And we were picking up centers as well, so longer term, I mean, the two options which we tend to see from the true damage side of things would be either towards the Ari or towards the Caitlyn, which absolutely ruin everybody at Las Vegas. But Jinx, that win streak that's been in place since the beginning of the game is just coming to the end thanks to Nah we lost, an ironic name indeed. But still, I think that Jinx is in a great position to move up with Country 6 right now. But MZ will take pole position coming out of Stage 3 with barely any losses to her name. It looks like Mosha, I believe that was her we were looking at there with the spectator was throwing a fit, but I believe that she's running Mosha right now, which is hopefully we'll get to see from someone else's perspective, because that's extremely unusual.
I think it was a by Mosher carry, built with like an Infinity Edge and the Death Blade. So, okay, I have seen it actually being played in Chinese. Yeah, there we go. So some of the most prolific China players, Chinese TFT players, are actually playing the Vi carry strat with similar items, and I believe the last item is a Hodge, and just make Vi the carry because she deals such massive amounts of damage after her buffs last patch.
Alright, well, we'll keep an eye out for if we see MZ coming in on anyone else's board. From Leaving's side, we've got of course the return on investment that's turned into the Tactician's Crown, but we've also got the Spatula and the Punk headliner, which means that longer term Leaving's going to be able to put 6 Punk on the board and cap out this particular setup much strongly, or much more strongly than it would have been able to otherwise.
And already hitting that, finally hitting that Jinx 3 as well is going to pay massive dividends as the game goes later. Jinx, definitely one of these carries that can start to cut through some of the healthier units much easier than a lot of other just auto attack based units. So I'm very interested to see how far Leaving can take this, especially hitting the higher levels of Punk as the game goes on.
It's been an all gold lobby, so our players haven't been thrown off by too much as expected. So Deadly, I do believe you spotted out that it was champion delivery in this particular lobby, so our players should be expecting to get increasingly strong champions getting dropped in, so more economy and also the chance to potentially hit a very valuable unit for your particular setup.
Yes, so it's a portal that allows you to play some of your higher cost boards, and it's a portal that gives you a free reliable access to higher cost units, and maybe you'll get a unit that will complement your comp, or you just get free gold if you don't need the unit. So it can boost your board, and it can boost your economy. So it's a very decent portal to have, and at the highest levels, the pros have managed to utilize it very effectively. So I'm hoping that the players in the tournament can utilize the potential of this portal very nicely as well.
Oh, and thank you very much for checking back in on MZ Noodles, because it looks like the spectator problems are not consistent, so we can at least get a chance to see what's going on here. So we've got a headliner. It looks like a headliner Nah, actually, rather than the viral we were expecting. So working pretty well. MZ's still up towards the top. Do want to keep an eye on the KDR and Diamond, though. They're both very low coming into this round. I think it's Diamond in particular. I think it's very close to getting an enhanced cash out after going and raising the stakes. I imagine KDR may well be in the same position, but I can't imagine that both of them can get away with doing it.
It'll definitely be a dangerous situation to be in with such low health, both going for a very high cash out. You are putting yourself on the edge as we see the big shot starting to come in for Diamond. Not
Oh.
quite. Did take their cash out on that last round though, so I'm interested to see what they got that changed their board in a significant manner. But that's both players on 5 health now. There is no room for mistakes or overforcing at this point. It is do or die. You have to hope that you can hold out for another round or two to really round out the compositions that you're starting to finalize.
I mean, both players did take their cash out, and they did not remove their Heartsteel units. So I guess they're at least doing better than Fantasy did uh, in the
Jeez.
tournament. Shout out Fantasy, we love you.
Oh
But
boy.
yeah,
Ah,
I I mean, I did say I was going to give him a shout out, but yeah, he uh so he missed his Heartsteel cash out, but KDR and Diamond are looking like they're slowly transitioning their boards into something better. And there we go, an Ezreal headliner, which is, I know, something that you love to do, Xica, and another Ezreal too. But there's also a Zed
Oh no,
headliner
they're facing
and the
each
two
other.
boards. The two boards. Oh my god, this is so
oh,
interesting.
my heart is torn.
They both found the Israel too. They both got big dreams for this game, but only one of them gets to take a step further. I think it may well be KDR because their Israel will get the other. And despite both of them hitting the units they were looking for, Diamond is out first. And KDR will have to carry the torch for players who play very close to the edge further on into the game.
I found the underdog that I'm supporting this game. I shouldn't be biased, but I love me an Ezreal, headliner Ezreal. I can't lie.
Well, it turns out KDR was able to see through Diamond's deception, and Diamond was only a diamond simulant and not a real diamond.
Well, we've had, speaking of diamonds, we've got some comps coming together very nicely. From Jinx's side of things, we've got the Country 7 in place, so KDR is going to be tested from the very beginning of their comp. You know, surviving against the Interloper, now moving forward against one of the toughest comps to face off against. It actually eliminates immediately the Samira in the corner. You can see how well the Infinity Edge is working. Though, one-on-one against the Urgot, I don't know if there's enough punch here from the Ezreal.
Nope.
No. And this is actually... Oh, sorry, Counter. This is... I wanted to jump in very quickly, but this is actually one of the buffs that Urgot got when this patch is... When Urgot is using his spell, and he deals damage to a single target unit, the damage is 50% extra effective. So he deals 150% damage with his spell.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why it makes it such a good investment to pick up a lot of tanky stuff for your Urgot. As we saw in the last round, if he's the last one standing, you know, if we've got compositions like the Ezreal that focus on taking out your backliners, then if he is the last one standing in the field, he can go up and clean up extremely quickly. But we've got other players dropping down to low HP as well to face up against Jinx's board. Monsieur just hit the Riven 3 as our current lowest HP player on 4 HP, behind by 46 on Mentally Scarred.
Gonna be interesting to see if this makes the difference. I don't see Riven carry very often, but I do know that it can be very, very good in the right situation. That is, Edgelord 6 are not quite hitting that full potential from the Edgelord board, but as this Riven starts to get casts off, things are going to start to look very, very scary as we start to see it really come to light here. I mean, this Kale and this Nara trying to do everything they can, but the damage is just not enough to stand up to the Edgelord board.
Wow, that is some massive amounts of damage, despite the Riven being nerfed. And I'm just looking at this Urgot, and I am, it's ridiculous at this point. It's a little bit ridiculous because Gargantuan Resolve, the Hand of Justice, the BT, this Urgot also has 4 Moshers in, so it also has a massive amounts of healings, and it's doing disturbing amounts of damage.
Yeah, it's nightmarish to face off against. You need to have a huge single target damage. One of the boards that does have that is Leven's board, and also MZ's board to an extent as well. I mean, we've got double scaling here on the KL, the Archangels, and the Gwinsus, so, you know, would have a chance of putting down the Urgot, but I think boards like the ones we got here from Mentally Scarred, who are mostly focused on doing area of effect damage, are really relying on the Viego to be the last one standing to take out big single targets.
Definitely in agreement there, and we see Leven's board here. This Jinx really online at this point, just starting to melt through everything in its path. As there we lose Monsieur Le Chouvre.
Brave to the end.
Yeah, that leaves us down to our top 5, and yeah, jumping in back to what you said, Xica, is about Leven has this Jinx. The punk board has been buffed. It is doing much better right now in the later stages of the game, and you do have that technically infinite scaling from the punk rerolls. So Leven is definitely looking very scary right now.
Alright, well, let's keep an eye out here on the Mentally Scarred. Tied with Now We Lost, currently on 31 HP. I think we've been seeing a lot of pressure coming down from the top of the lobby in this game, which has meant that our players have been going out a lot earlier than they might have been otherwise. Still though, Mentally Scarred takes the lead here, handing out the loss to Now We Lost. Jinx and Leven, I believe, fighting up at the top, but it's going to be the Punk board, Punk 6 board, that keeps the streak going heading into the latter half of Stage 5.
And that just proves that Leven's board is one of these boards that can deal with this Urgot really, really effectively, because it's very unlikely this Jinx is ever going to fall very early on. See Sonas and so many other items being taken on this carousel. I'm interested to see how some of these get implemented into the heading into the later stages of round 5 and the early stages of round 6.
Of course, we've got the champion delivery still dropping in a few more bits and pieces. For Leven, though, has managed to find a very early Lucian to be able to extend the power of the Punk board even further. For Mentally Scarred, it might even have been the Alawi dropping in from that round. But this board does need to get a little bit stronger, because still top 4 has not been secured for anybody, particularly Mentally Scarred and Now We Lost.
I just wanted to point out that Leven just hit a Mumu 3 as well.
Oh,
and
Lord.
that is a scary bobblehead currently. It is going to tank out almost everything, and it is going to do a lot of damage, but more on what we're seeing on the screen. Now We Lost actually doing fairly decently against Jinx's board. However, it's still not enough for Divide to kill that Infernal Dreadsteed and that Urgot.
Oh, big upgrade coming in for Mentally Scarred. The 3-star Mordekaiser in place. We're talking about big horses to hold down the front line. This will be a huge one. We've got the Crown Guard, we've got the Warmogs in place. The only thing we're really missing is some, defensive stats to help amplify up this huge HP pool, but it should be enough time to get at least casted some casts, with MZ having a similar setup as well. I think we've got a big clash of the Titans coming our way.
Definitely. Sorry. Definitely good. Looking so, and this Gale carry has not been looking as effective as it could have. But now we're seeing this board actually go into effect once MZ has hit the 7 pentakill, actually demolishing this Urgot very early on and not allowing the Urgot to ramp up, kill everything on the board. And this Gnar is actually very tanky, because it is a 3-star Gnar with the headliner, and also has the super fans in as well. So he's getting that extra item, and that headliner effect being Gnar being extra tanky is just massively impactful.
Definitely is. And I mean, we kind of talked earlier about how Leven was one of the people that could stand up to this massive Urgot, but MZ was the other. And we've just seen that in practice now here as well. Both of these players able to stand up to the Urgot, as we did lose. Now we lost last round, so we are down to our top 4.
And for leaving, finding a nice item to be able to push the power of that secondary carry Lucian. Potentially gives the chance to see the Quincy's Rage Blade coming in for an extra bit of punch behind everything else that's going on. For Jinx, an interesting choice to bring out the Emo more strongly in their composition with the Emo Spatula on the Samira. A very unusual choice, but we'll see how it works. As Levin will go up against the country board this time around, and we shall see if we're right or not about this board's ability to deal with that Urgot.
Yep, it's definitely looking like the sheer tankiness of Levin's board is just way too much for Jinx right now. It's also because Jinx has not hit some of those crucial three stars like the Samira, like the Katarina, and so the board is a little bit weaker than it might be. So no, right now we see the Katarina, but you still need that Samira, and that emo spat is a little bit interesting to me. It especially on the Samira, I would expect it on a different unit and maybe slap something else on the Samira, but maybe it was a misclick or something. We don't know, but Levin definitely being the front runner in this game currently, and looking uncontested, to be honest.
Just to bring mention to Jinx's board as well, still only sitting on a 1-star Tahm Kench,
Ooh.
which is impacting that front line greatly. That thing falls very, very fast, and it means that every board on the in the game so far at this point, Levin, Mentally Scarred, and MZ, can all stand up to this country board because there's no real front line there, so you can get through the Tahm Kench really quickly. Sure, the Infernal Dreadsteed then comes out, but you're already hitting the Urgot and the Samira by that point.
Okay.
So it's looking pretty good for Levin on a win streak and 69 health, doing very well ahead of the rest of the field. Everybody else on a single life, most likely. As Jinx, we'll see how they do up against MZ's board. This is still primarily a Kale board, so it needs a little bit of time to ramp up. Again, the Quincy's and the Archangels. I think maybe this won't be the best matchup because you can see already the front line is not lasting long enough for MZ to cut through. See if the Nars may be good enough as the Urgot goes 1v1, and wow, I was super wrong about that one. It looks like they're going to be all swept away.
The Sona destroying this whole board, but Mentally Scarred is actually doing fairly well against this Levin board because you have the assassins of the Karthus and the Akali bursting out the backline, and we see there that Mentally Scarred nearly killing off Levin's board, but still just a little bit not enough to kill off that board. But the final three are definitely in for some big rounds, and it's going to be very interesting.
Jazz Emblem picked up by Levin here already has the Lucian on the board, so if this when this Jazz Emblem goes down, you're just looking at this board getting even stronger for this Lucian, as we see there dropped on the Yorick. So that's already a big buff to the power of this board, and you're already on a 14-game win streak. You're already looking extremely strong. Throwing the MF in just for good measure. Levin's looking very, very scary at this point.
Yeah, I really like having the Jazz in there as well as the way to amplify up your already large health pools, but MZ and Mentally Scarred going face to face here. Karthus on both sides. I'm kind of really curious to see whether or not the Kale enhanced board version will do better. You see Kale is doing great single target to get rid of the Viego, leaving Karthus as the only one left standing. Nar is buying a lot of time before he eventually falls down, leaving Kale as the last real unit standing on one-on-one. I have to think she's good enough, but wait, I'm not even sure who won that one.
MZ.
Okay.
I love how the cutscenes are broken in Spectator, by the way.
I would. Okay. Well. Okay.
That's a shot.
I would also like to point out that wow.
That's a shot.
So if I try to speak, I'm afraid that someone will hit something even more outrageous right now. I wanted to point out that Levin forgot to actually do his punk reroll for 2 rounds in a row.
Hmm. All right. I mean, that's going to make a difference. We're certainly getting the 3% every round. Just gives you the extra out of knowing your board will get ever so slightly stronger long term. Let's see if MZ can stand up 1-on-1. I mean, this board is looking really scary. We've got the Vex at the back, Vex 3. We've got the Twitch 3 as well. This board is pretty much the best you would hope for from a punk board. We've had everything we wanted, the heavy hitters, and Levin will absolutely annihilate everybody else. Oh my gosh.
Absolute insanity.
Oh my gosh. So we're going to see if any of the other lobbies are still ongoing, but from what we've been seeing in the chat, people are already dropping in their memories, bad experiences, good experiences, somewhere in between. But we have received, of course, the most important piece of information from Levin, revealing the truth, the secret to their strategy, which is just to type me punk and then deafen.
Sounds like a very effective strat to me, especially since Levin managed to hit about 7 or 8 3-stars, managed to get a Crown of Champions going, so that extra unit was in, 3 Jazz, a Jazz Emblem, 2-star Lucian, 2-star Yorick, 3-star Mumu, 3-star Vex, 3-star Twitch. So I want to say, how big of a Mordog's blessing did you get, Levin, this morning?
Alright, gentle friends, we will be headed to break. When we return, we'll of course have our second round of Counter's Casual competition, so stay tuned, and we'll be back in around 6 or 7 minutes. Howdy, howdy everybody, and welcome back to Counters Casual Competition. Here alongside Xica and DeadlyGhost once again as we come into round number 2. As you can see on the right hand side of your screen at the moment, we've got ourselves some of our friends who've gotten through and picked up some of the most points so far. I'm going to just confirm that's got everybody in it, because I think that's not fully up to date what we've got on the right hand side of the screen. Let's see, so currently Drunken Sundere, Believe, Leave Him, Mr. Duck, and Anonymous One have all got the wins out of their first games. So congratulations to all of them. Apparently, the key to success, at least from 2 out of our 5 top performers, is to leave as much as possible, with Believer and Leave In both scoring first.
It's definitely an interpretation of it.
That it sure is.
Yeah.
See, my takeaway from that would be to leave your enemies in shambles.
Okay.
That's better than what I was thinking. I'll give you that.
So, from our first game, we saw our players who were going towards the Heartsteel side of things just get, honestly, fairly smashed. Coming out in 7th place and 8th place respectively. I mean, I don't know kind of what your own personal opinions are on playing Heartsteel at the moment, but do you think results like that will scare any of our players off from taking the riskier roads through these games?
I don't think so. I think because of the risk that Heartsteel has, sure, risk-averse people won't go for it, but the people who do go for it likely know what they're getting themselves into, and if they do get to a point where they can immediately pivot off the back of a very big cash out, it can just be enough to completely switch up a lobby.
Well, Deadly, let's go and take a look at some of the games from the previous round while we wait for things to kick off again here. And first of all, we get to see our heavenly moderator himself, Mr. Duck, taking first place. Apparently, DeadlyGhost, Punk is the hotness today.
Well, looking at how much the people in his lobby have hit, and that he managed to come out on top, it just makes sense that Punk rules. And well, as a fan of Punk music, I do have to say that this pleases my eyes.
Next up, oh no, wait, this is Mr. Duck's lobby again. We've got Believer, who was able to get a win out here with a Pentakill board. So again, we saw Pentakill doing very well in our previous lobby. This one also looking like it was built around the Gnar carry. So apparently, this is getting the job done.
Yeah, it's getting the job done. And I remember Chishonachi told us that she hit Jinx at 2-1, Jinx 3 at 2-1, and I'm seeing her all the way down in 7th. I just wanted to point that out very quickly because I would be very interested to see what happened there. But also congratulations to Believer, because that looks like a massive, massive board.
I'm very interested to see that Annie reroll is still kicking. Honestly, it's not something I've seen very much in recent patches, but evidently it's still going. It's still kicking. And, well, we all know what Annie reroll did to Jinx reroll when the set first came around. So I'm going to assume that something similar happened this time.
It's really interesting because you'd imagine that, the one-cost rerolls should be able to coexist relatively well with each other, but let's take a look at what I believe will be our final lobby from the previous ramp. So, Drunken Tsundere. I'm almost certain I'm mispronouncing that horribly.
No, you got it.
Oh, okay, wonderful. I feel validated. Brought out the country board. We did see the country board on our on-stream game, but this one worked out even better. The 7 country showing up multiple times. It seemed like we've got quite an emblem-heavy day so far.
Yeah, definitely looking like it. And 7 country just looks like it had an easier time in this lobby. But also, you have the Samira 3 with the carry items, I'm presuming. And a Mumu 3, Vex 3. So there's just a lot of AoE damage, a lot of extra tankiness, and the Dreadsteed and Vex do a lot of AoE, and the Samira just finishes off the rest of the boards.
But something that jumps out to me here with Sir Lois's board is having a double Punk Emblem board coming in second place. Is honestly pretty astonishing. So we've seen varied results from Punk so far. It does maybe suggest that we've got some setups here where Punk is doing it maybe a little bit less well than it would be otherwise. One of the pieces of advice that was being banned around was that the Pantheon wasn't actually that great of a tank, and so if you can, getting the Amumu 3 online and itemizing him can be just a little bit more effective longer term, I guess, for just, his big AoE. But to bring it back to ourselves, as we're closing in on our second round of play, we will be jumping into that in just a second. But Jacob, again, we'll come to your knowledge well. Again, we are your team. We are being managed by you. Manage/coach. I know I'm kind of asking you to go into the coach role here, but say we're a player. I believe we're going to be going to lobby 5 in a second. So, we are your team. We've had not such a great first game. We're already like, oh boy, it's everyone's fault but ours. It must be the management and coaching staff's fault that we lost our first game. How do you deal with that? With that kind of attitude, or turn around that kind of mentality?
Take 5, get up, leave your computer, take a mental reset, come back fresh of mind, and really start to knuckle down on what you know you're good at. If you are someone who is especially good at econ management, focus on that. If you're someone who is very good at knowing how to pivot, start with an early game composition. Get yourself the footing that allows you to then pivot. If you're someone who just likes to throw rerolls in there because they work 9 times out of 10, go for it. Work to your own strengths. Don't try and work to the rest of the boards, because ultimately, the same goes for pretty much any game, solo or team-based, the second you try to start playing around something you're not comfortable with, you're going to make more mistakes, you're going to find it a lot harder. You're better off sticking to something you're comfortable with and that you could play without much thinking than something that's going to take all of your brain power to try and match when it might not even work out.
Any
follow-on thoughts, DeadlyGhost?
Well, if you're not a fan of anything that Xica just said, and you're just a fan of Heartsteel, just remember to just remember to gamble again, because 99% of gamblers always give up before they hit big.
I don't know if this is good advice and not the official stance.
No, do not take my advice seriously.
Legal disclaimer: the views of DeadlyGhost do not reflect the views of myself or Counterfeit.
No, but like Xica said, open a window, touch some grass, breathe in some fresh air. It will clear your mind.
I think the only way you could open your window and touch some grass would be if you lived in a basement, which was just dangerously
Yeah,
less.
I was gonna say, like, I'm not sure I want to jump out of a first-story window to touch some grass,
No,
but I
what
mean,
I was
more
trying
power
to
to you.
what I'm trying to say is open a window or touch some grass, or breathe in some fresh air to clear your mind.
Ah, yes, but why not both?
I mean, you got 7 minutes between rounds. That's enough time to to run out, rub your face in some grass, come back in again, and be fully refreshed. And we are almost there in that ourselves. So we are about to get started into round number 2 for today's competition. So we'll see. We'll see if our players take on the advice that's been given to them here, the mental reset. Because again, one of the big reasons for this competition is for people just to have a grand old time. So I think honestly, I think it's very easy to forget in all of this, esports stuff, that we ultimately are playing a game, and that game is, is supposed to be more fun than, say, a real job. So you try and find a way to make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the number of players that I've come across in so many different games who take it more seriously than they take a lot of other things in life is very, very concerning. Ultimately, we are playing a video game. It's just pixels on a screen. It's not going to have any real world impact in 90% of scenarios. You don't have to worry too much. You're totally fine to not have a good game, reset, and come back.
And you also can still win prizes just by participating in the tournament. So, don't give up just because you didn't win the whole tournament.
No, that's true. I mean, I think that's been one of the most rewarding parts of running this tournament long term. Looking up at the top of the screen, 71 tournaments in. We've had players like Mr. Duck, like Pills, who've been able to overcome, some relatively weak starts to continue to plug away at the tournament. Because there's always the whole thing of like, you've got your raw skill. I guess for League of Legends, this would be your kind of ladder skill, your solo queue skill, and you've got your level of comfort in tournaments, and and how much you're kind of like can just play normally when you're playing in the tournament. And I think for players like Pills, like Mr. Duck, who've gotten so used to it now that I suspect they can play at full capacity in tournaments, which may be higher than, let's say, a player who's uncomfortable playing in the tournament setting and is maybe going to get tilted by an initial bad result.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, tournament pressure is definitely a really big thing. Even in casual tournaments, people still want to do well. They still want to prove themselves. And yeah, you do have your raw level of skill. For League, we'd normally refer to that as your raw mechanics and macro. But for TFT, you've got your raw skill. You've got your raw knowledge of the game that you can then use to inform your decisions, inform your strategy, and you can then also draw from the game around you to understand what's going on around you to better inform those decisions further. But there's only so far that will get you if you're feeling pressured. There's only so far that will get you if you're in a completely new environment that ultimately it's just, it happens sometimes. Pressure is always going to be an aspect of things like tournaments, in a lot of situations in life, but tournaments especially. You as I mentioned, you really want to do well. You want to prove yourself. You don't always have to do that.
Yeah, I can personally attest to this. With this tournament, actually, I've come in a few times in the final lobby being the points leader, and then because of high pressure, completely flunked out and got an 8. But now I look more on that with a different set of eyes, like, oh, I did so great in these first 2 games. Let's focus on how I can improve and do better even in the 3rd game, and just have a little bit of an easier time, put that pressure in the back of my mind and not let it influence all of my decision making.
Oh, for sure. I think it's like there's a lot of power in having the kind of the worst case scenario happen, where like either things go like I think there's the two different angles. It's like either it goes really like poorly the whole way through the competition, in which case you're like, oh boy, I hope I can just like not get an 8th in one of these games, or the opposite, it goes really well, and then Deadly, as you said, you know, you've then got the built-in pressure of being like, oh, this opportunity has presented itself. I've done well to start with. Now I need to carry on doing well, and maybe I just don't know what that feels like if I'm not an experienced tournament player.
Yeah, exactly. So, even if you're not doing well in this tournament, try to get the experience. Maybe you'll do well in a different tournament. I know in the past, Counter, we've had people come into this tournament to practice for the big tournaments, and we've seen them doing well in like the GSCs and the Open qualifiers and things like that. And in the end, it's a casual tournament. Just try and have fun with it.
Alright, so we're waiting on the next game to come through. It looks like we might be having a little problem with the spectator, which I guess was inevitable at some point during this. So you might need to... Oh, no, I tell a lie. It looks like we might have actually been able to sneak into a game. So, summoned it into being, I have. Let's see. So I believe we're going to be going into... Let's see, Unholy Girl, Croc Lesnar. This is going to be Table 4 we're heading into. So let's jump across and get stuck in here. Thank you very much for Wet Noodles for persisting with that one, because there was a lot going on. But we are now officially back underway here at Table 4, which, oops, excuse me, which looks like not too much has happened so far. Boom Shakalaka, who is a former tournament winner, is currently streaking along with Unholy Girl and Croc Lesnar. So it's looking like we might be looking at another lobby which is going to be dominated heavily by a couple of players.
It'll be interesting to see as the game goes forwards. I'm very... it's hard to call anything in these early stages, right? Because, you know, things can change so fast. But this is the most exciting point of the game for me, because so many options, so many opportunities are open to you, and I love seeing which one players decide they want to commit to.
Yeah, it's definitely... for me, it's always fun to look at carousels, because players usually divide themselves into, do I go for this champion that can complement my comp, or do I go for this item that can actually do much better for my comp? As well, that spectator is doing a little bit of an oopsie, but well, we can't help much about that. But that's a very nice early KDA Evelyn.
As we glance around, we've got a prismatic start here, so our players are going for some pretty big swings. Darkness Dawns picking up the prismatic spoils of war means that, you know, a good round and a bad round can look super different in terms of what they're getting. You're getting rewarded for getting these unit kills. If you're strong in these early rounds, you can get as many procs as spoils as possible. You're looking great, but if you're not, then you miss out on a huge amount of power.
It's just gonna be a case of how and when those procs come through, and just what it is that comes through on those procs. I mean, as you said, it can be extremely powerful. Sometimes it can also just completely shaft you. So I'm very excited. It's gonna be. It adds a bit more of a dynamic set to the board at play, but with something like a Yasuo in play with an Execute as well, I'd imagine we're getting a good number of procs coming through.
Alright, so let's talk about what Vladimir has got set up. We mentioned before that Annie reroll is a potentially strong move here, but it doesn't look like the setup is quite there as of yet. So Vladimir doesn't have any Annies on the bench so far, so we're expecting this to be more of a transitionary piece. I think, again, to bring up Lusher, a TFT pro player who explained this really well, is the idea of, for a 3-star, you need to pick up 7 copies of a unit, with one of them being the headliner. Vladimir, of course, only effectively then has 1 out of 7 Annies. Mr. Rain, our next player up, picking up the hedge fund. So that's a lot of money, at least it should be a lot of money in the bag. Mr. has actually spent their hedge fund money. Presumably that's going to be hugely impactful for their long-term health. Now over to so Xica, we don't normally see our players spending this aggressively when they've got an economy augment that rewards them for saving money.
Absolutely not. I mean, it can definitely help to stabilize in the early game if you don't want to go on a massive loss streak, which will then allow you to rebuild that economy, right? But normally we see it as like, okay, I'm in a pretty good spot as far as things go. I don't really have a reason to have to, throw everything in the kitchen sink into play right now. So I'm just gonna wait and see how it goes, and then I have that safety net should I need it. But I can see the logic behind doing a big spend early, because if you can stabilize your board and make yourself a very strong competitor going into stage 3, then you can make that economy back very, very quickly, while also ensuring you can continue to power up your board with the units coming through.
Yeah, it definitely does seem a little bit like you're going against what your augment is, but if it was just to hit a stable board and you're now getting the focus out, it's going to be much better. But yeah, looking at what's happening on our screens right now, we have a Force Sentinel board with a double Trinity Force Senna, which is a little bit unusual, however not unheard of, and Hydrapath. I'm assuming this Senna is going to be a stand-in for perhaps an Ezreal, but we are going to see it develop because it's an all prismatic lobby, it seems.
Yeah, that is pretty spicy. But at least we've got the first 2 prismatics in place here. So I don't know if Noodles can confirm for us if we're on a prismatic symphony portal or similar, because we did come into this one a little bit later. Mr. Rain, currently sitting in the middle of the table. Again, our hedge fund player has spent aggressively. So we'll see how long. Yes, it is a prismatic symphony. Thank you very much, Noodles. So we're going to be seeing the highest possible power from all of these boards. For me, Xica, I don't know about you, but for me, I'm worried when I'm seeing boards which are being built around lower cost units when we've got so many prismatics in play.
It does get concerning, right? I mean, prismatics are... It's the strongest form of augments that you have access to. Of course, lower level ones do have prismatic variants as well, but it's where you're really starting to see a lot of the power come through. And normally you want to pair that up with really high power unit, because they can use it most effectively. While a prismatic set can power up a 1-2 cost carry board to the level of maybe a 3-4 cost carry board, it's beefing up the 3-4 cost carry board significantly more. So in a lobby where everybody is running low cost carries, it's fine to do, but if you've got even one person running higher cost carries, it suddenly gets so much harder, because they make better use of these high tier augments while also just having better base stats than everything you're already using.
Yeah, jumping in on what Xica is saying right now, we're seeing already a 2-cost headliner coming in, people rolling down for some of those other carries, but we're still seeing a lot of one cost here, which is a little bit concerning for me right now. However, the first person to transition out when they get to that level 7 and level 8 into a 4-cost headliner is going to have a much easier time even building their board, simply because of the raw power of the prismatic lobby.
So, I mean, for Darkness Dawns in particular, who is the Yasuo player, it's going to be an interesting spot with a couple of duplicators on the bench and the chance of being able to throw in a Yasuo 3 very quickly. We are getting relatively close to stage 4 starting though, so I wonder if longer term it'll work out. Hydrapath, though, down towards the bottom in the HP standings right now, along with Migu Kao. Both of them in the 50s, with Boom just barely above. we've got several players, we saw getting knocked out very early on in our previous game. So hopefully we'll see a little bit more longevity from our low HP players this time.
I hope so. It's always nice to see some kind of underdog story, or even if it's not an underdog story, just the lower health players in the lobby stick around longer, as Darkness Dawns does hit that Yasuo 3. Because when our lower health players do stick around for the majority of the game, not only does it make for a more exciting game because it's so close until right close to the end, it also shows that most anything can work in our favor or in someone's favor, not necessarily ours, but it can work in someone's favor for so long that nobody can call the game until the last second.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with what Xica is saying right now, and I feel like I wanted to jump back just a little bit on that Yasuo. Yasuo is, I believe, technically an exemption of those one cost units, because technically Yasuo ramps up with every kill he gets. So the infinite scaling aspect does come in for Yasuo, and I believe that Yasuo is at least for me an exception to having to go for a higher cost carry in a prismatic lobby.
We'll see how Darkness Dawns does later on. I mean, we've got the space for one more item on the Yasuo here, and we are on the prismatic spoils, so we've got the chance of seeing some components and such drop. Imagine we're looking for the Hand of Justice here to give just a little bit more longevity. But Darkness is doing okay for now. Boom Shakalaka is more towards the bottom end. Has got the Heartsteel Yone in place, so this could be a problem for Darkness, if they decide to go for more of the 3-cost edgelords. That we've already got somebody in this kind of space throwing a little bit of competition their way.
I'm not sure if we'll see a full committal to edgelords come out here from Boom Shakalaka. I mean, we are getting close to a very big cash out. If we decide to keep raising the stakes, I'll be very, very interested to see where that goes. But could also just go for the early cash out, which could just give enough power for a pivot on its own. I'm definitely very excited to keep an eye on their board and see just where they go to.
So we're checking in with Croc Lesnar here, who has been on the win streak since the beginning of the game. DeadlyGhost, how would you rate this board out of 8?
Great mate, I rate 8 out of 8.
Nice.
Sorry, I had to jump in for that one. You said you gave me a freebie on that, but this is probably the board I'm looking at very closely, because Croc Lesnar, actually great name by the way, has a very strong early game board, is looking to transition over into a 4-cost carry, because we're seeing those items being placeholders. You have the Radiant Jewel Gauntlet, the Trinity Force. You have the super fans as well. And looking at this, I could easily see an Akali or an Ari or a Karthus headliner be picked up next after the next round of augments, when Croc Lesnar will have enough gold to just level up to 8. And I believe this is what we were talking about earlier on, about utilizing some good early game units to just transition into that massive spike.
Check back in on Croc Lesnar for just a second. I can see the win streak does remain in place. We mentioned our 3 players are on low HP before. They will continue to be so as we'll get our last augment coming in. Remember, of course, we're a Prismatic Symphony, so every one of these augments has been prismatic so far, making these choices tremendously important. The Croc Lesnar, that will be the choice of bringing the Dual Lotus to provide that extra punch of power. For our players towards the bottom, particularly Boom Shakalaka, who's waiting on that Heartsteel cash out, has gone for the binary airdrop. So I like that combination, Xica, to be able to say, I'm going to be getting a bunch of items coming in. I want immediate power, so binary airdrop seems, being the way to go.
It's definitely an interesting route to go, and I definitely think it'll work out for them in the long term, because it's going to allow them to really start to stabilize after having to go on such a large loss streak. But I did see something else interesting that I just wanted to touch on. I believe it was Vladoran managed to pick up 4 Vexes immediately into a Vex headliner. So I think that's going to be a very interesting board to follow, especially on triple prismatic lobby, because it is one of those 3-cost carry boards that we've talked about that can just start to overpower some of these lower cost carry boards as the game goes on.
Oh wow, look, we've got the Infernal contract in place. So this is a full committing to hitting the 3-cost 3-stars. And we've got 6 Executioner in line as well, so Vladoran's got some huge potential to deliver some knockout punches across the board here with just the raw amount of power on display.
Oh wow, that is very good. So I have seen this pop up in a lot of higher elo lobbies, especially with the pros as well playing this. You take a Mumu as your as a single frontline unit, or you put in another guardian like Vladoran has right now, and then you go for 6 executioners. And because Amumu ramps up in tankiness as the round goes on, he is able to tank out a lot of the damage which the opponent's board would dish out, and you just have that Vex and Karthus and the Kali demolish everything else in that board.
Hey Stormy, welcome to the stream. Of course, you missed Stormy last week, then you missed out on a treat. I hope you're doing well, Stormy, and continue to absolutely smush things on the competitive circuit. Looking back to the game though, Croc Lesnar remains in place as our #1 player, 100 HP, 2 stages and a half undefeated so far. Boom Shakalaka Megaku, they're the ones. Oh, Migu Cow. So, my apologies, I'm just completely making up the pronunciations here. Both of them in some pretty major trouble because, as we've noted before, our mid-table players who are on those mid-HP totals, they've been stacking up some 3-cost boards which are pretty scary, and I don't know if Boom and Migu can actually push through and get towards the top 4.
Opting to keep Heartsteel going for now is an interesting decision. I will have to see if Boom can get anything else going, but 7 HP, there's not much room for error.
Ooh, I don't know if we can pop back to Migu there, because I think we've just seen a fairly big upgrade. So we can see Hydropat, Migu, and Boom, they're all putting in, particularly Migu and Boom, they're all putting everything into place as much as possible. We've got the 3-star Garen being backed up by a mostly itemized Caitlyn with a double Radiant items. I think it might just be enough, but unfortunately, we're going back to some historical Counters Casual competition here, which is that Garen is amazing, but if he's the last one standing, he cannot do enough by himself.
No, definitely not. And Croc Lesnar, just displaying the power of a 3-cost carry. That's actually a Mordekaiser headliner. Looking at it, and well, I am a fan of this board. I am a very big fan of Mordekaiser as a unit, and Mordekaiser is also another one of the infinite scaling units where, when he is a headliner, if Mordekaiser kills a unit with his spell, he gains a permanent stack of ability power. So potentially, it could be a very powerful board for him.
So Migu Cow has been knocked out in 8th place. Boom is fighting for life as well, as Hydropat is very close to being in the same position as well. See the Caitlyn being inherited from the previous boards we saw. Unfortunately, isn't quite good enough. Hydropat almost eliminated in this round, but Boom holds on by a thread.
Boom, really happy in the position right now. They're just able to eke out Migu Cow last round. They've overtaken Hydropat this round. I'd be interested to see what they've finished pivoting their board to off the back of that big Heartsteel cash out. But Hydropat just not got the damage to back up this tanky front line I mean, the Cassante is sitting with a good number of damage items, but it's not quite enough. Meanwhile, Boom opted to cycle into Viego Edgelord, as you rightfully mentioned earlier, Counter. So definitely a strong point, but we'll see how it matches up when to Darkness Dawn's board in just a sec.
Yeah, just sorry, just looking at it from this perspective, the Morellonomicon is interesting on Viego, but you do get that massive burn, AoE burn on to everyone, and it is looking fairly decent. And yeah, I was just about to mention that Darkness Dawns is actually doing very, very, very well as well. And that Yasuo is stacking, you have the true damage, and ooh, we're looking at it right now, the Battle of the Edgelords.
I mean, the Ezreal has got the items online. This is the binary. Boom picked up the binary airdrop for immediate power, recognizing that his spot was not good at all, and it is good enough to beat out what's been very powerful Darkness board. Heading up to the top, you see Hydra Pat, our other low HP player, also fighting to try and stay in the game. Unfortunately, very similar to the Garen situation before, we have an Omega tank left at the end, but with no one left to protect, Hydra Pat will head out in 7th place.
It's really unfortunate that you come up against first place in a situation like that, but the damage, it just wasn't quite there. Boom, on the other hand, completely ravaging through Darkness Dawn's board, so it's really showing the power of these early loss streaks, but also the risk of them as well. We've had 2 people go out relatively quickly, but Boom really, really pulling back from what was the edge of destruction off the back of the binary airdrop into Heartsteel cash out.
Yeah, Boom just had a very good Heartsteel cash out. Hit the Ezreal 2 right now, as we saw there on the screen, and is having a very good time with this board. Ezreal 2, you have the Jazz with the Lucian shredding the armor of the rest of the rest of the board. You have a pretty decent tanky board, a tanky front line as well with the Set and the Alawi. So this board has almost everything that you would want to. It has tanky stats. It has a lot of damage. I think Boom is just missing a few defensive items for his front line, but still, that board is looking very, very good, and it could easily go top 4 if Boom can upgrade a few of those units.
One of the things, of course, that we're standing in the way of Boom making it into that top 4 is an encounter with Croc Lesnar. Won't happen this particular round, but looking at Croc's board, I mean, we know Croc has been dominating for the early part of the game and has so many carries here waiting to hit up to 2-star. I think Croc's got a lot of potential to take this into at least a top 2 finish in this lobby if they can hit their units, which I don't know if maybe other players have gotten there sooner.
I think they may have done, and Vladoran is a prime example of that situation. I called out this player earlier for picking up that Vex 3 alongside the Infernal Contract, and it's doing them very, very well. A lot of damage coming out, losing very, very few units. And Croc Lesnar, who was on 100 health for a very, very long time, seemingly struggling to catch up to the rest of the lobby now.
We did get an update from Hydro Pat. Apparently he was following a 3-star Cassante carry guide from 2 months ago. I wish we noticed that a little bit sooner. But honestly, Hydro Pat, you are an absolute hero for trying that in this tournament. It's very sad it didn't ultimately work out. But, I mean, checking back in with Valorant again, we've got this player again. The Infernal Contract is in place, and the Lucky Gloves as well. I love using the Lucky Gloves here with the 6 Executioner board, just because, you know, we've now got 3 carries here who have got, you know, we've got 3 sub-X, we've got the Karthus, we've got the Akali, all with good items, all with the Executioner 6 buff.
Yeah, and you are getting Executioners benefit extreme much more, like you said, from those Lucky Gloves, and it's very, very, very strong. and Vladaran just seems to be doing very well right now, going on some decent win streaks, having some uh, like we just saw, putting in some good damage. Just hit the Samira 3 as well, so it's definitely going to be a scary board. I think that's also an Amumu 3. Yes. So Vladaran just hitting big this round.
Yeah, and the one thing we were not necessarily expecting from an Infernal Contract board is longevity, but Vladaran has made it work. You know, has not spent too much money, has kept the money coming in to allow for the rerolls to come in. So 3-star Vex, 3-star Amumu, that's not a lot of extra time. The Amumu doesn't maybe last as long as we would like against Unholy Girl's incredibly strong single target Bard. Does get a decent cast off towards the tail end, but I think we've got ourselves a real brawl for the top 4.
Yeah, it's definitely looking very interesting on to who's going to kill the front line of the other person first, and it is going to be a fun matchup until the end. And we were criticizing Brock Lesnar just a little bit earlier on about not having the power of the board, but after Brock Lesnar got a pentakill emblem from the carousel, they've managed to get, and so he's managed to get to that 7 pentakill, where now the pentakill deals just an insane amount of damage, and it's looking to be doing very well for Brock Lesnar, who also gets a champion duplicator.
Simply put,
That's all I have to say there is
accurate. Well, we knew that was the problem for Brock Lesnar, was hitting the upgrades, and that's the perfect answer to have in place. But we've got upgrades coming across the board. Darkness is also starting to step up their own power. So Brock Lesnar has been dominant all game long. Maybe with the upgrades in place now, this space at the top will be cemented. A full, or nearly full, 30 HP ahead of everybody else. Darkest could be one of their main challenges.
Interesting to see this Yasuo really just starting to melt through everything it comes across. It might just be that is enough. I mean, Akali is good, but is it good enough? Unsure, but unlikely.
Wow, Deadly, you had faith in this Yasuo board from much earlier on, and apparently it's paying off.
It's the rule of thumb about infinite stacking, and as you go later on, Yasuo is just one of those carries that can do very well into the late game. You have the 6 true damage, you have the Edge of Night for that extra durability on that on the Yasuo. You have 5 Edgelord, and you also have, even if the Yasuo goes down, you also have the Senna in the backline dealing it very good damage, also being a 3-star. And I think probably Vladaran or Boom Shakalaka are the biggest dangers to that board, but even then, he might just do fairly decent into them.
Boom's been going off like an absolute truck. That binary airdrop has been working very well so far, but the Karthus does remove some of the backline carries quickly. Unfortunately, that Viego just walks right into Brock Lesnar and deletes everything that they've ever known and loved. Boom, I think, for me, is really impressing with how well they've been able to pull back from the brink and fight into what's looking like, yes, it will be a top 4 position as Unholy Girl exits in 5th.
That's nuts. Looking so close to death for so long, and has managed to claw their way up into top 4 and is beating out the lobby leader currently. It's absolutely insane. Immense amounts of respect for Boom Shakalaka for piloting that Heartsteel early game so well and finding exactly what they wanted to pivot into very quickly.
Yep, I have to commend Boom for doing very well. Obviously, Boom did not get confused with did not get confused once the cash out hit, as a lot of people would do. And I think these two boards are very highly contested between each other, so it's very fun to see what is going to transpire.
Oh, hello. It's a loss for Darkness, but a narrow one, which means that they're still in play. Note that Bloodaran is in a similar position. No, actually is taking a loss off that last round. I thought the round was already over. We're down to our final 3. So we know that Boom have beat Darkness. We know that Boom has also beat Croc before. So unless something major happens in this carousel in the rounds to come, Boom actually seems to be positioned here for a first place.
The underdog story coming in big, and it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier, especially with Heartsteel, is you just can't afford to overthink it. And I mean, Boom definitely hasn't been doing that. Very, very strong performance. If they do manage to take this lobby, it'll be the underdog story of a lifetime.
It is also going to be the cash out of a lifetime, because getting the Crown of Champions, the first round after the cash out didn't look too good, but wow, that's a big upgrade.
This is Boom versus the Ghost. Darkness will be taking the fight on the off screen. Hopefully we'll get a chance to glimpse of what they're doing as well, because I think Boom has got this one relatively comfortably. Yeah, just absolutely rips through. The main thing is whether or not Darkness has a good matchup against Croc Lesnar, and apparently they do. Darkness takes the round win, so we've got a triangle being built through here. Boom can beat Darkness, Darkness can beat Croc, but Boom maybe can just beat everybody.
Well, it seems like the ghost of Croc Lesnar needs to come to me for some tutoring, because it wasn't a very deadly ghost.
Hey, I like it. I don't know how it's been that long without us actually having a joke to that.
See, I've had this in the back of my mind for like maybe a year, and I've been looking for the perfect opportunity to use it.
I'm so glad it was today.
Ah, boy. Alright, Boom. Show us exactly what you've got for us. Multiple carries. I love the misfortune who's Emo and KDA at the same time for no good reason. As Croc Lesnar takes a boot to the face, gets knocked out in third place.
Oh my god.
On -10 is allowed to Boom Shakalaka comes back from the brink to take first place in round 2. Absolutely spectacularly done.
Take a bow. Take a bow.
I said it at the start. I said it at the start. Underdog stories. Boom, proving a massive underdog in that lobby.
Oh, yes, I just realized as well. Okay. No, it wasn't on my end. The camera was frozen for a little bit there, so we got the full surprise face.
See, I also said it before the game started. 99% of gamblers give up before they hit big, and Boom did not give up and just hit big.
Legal disclaimer.
This is a joke, by the way.
We're going to try and jump into another ongoing lobby. And in fact, yes, we have landed in there. So, let's see. This is Chushinanchi's lobby. We'll be jumping into in just a second. So, let's waste no more time. The spectator takes a little while to catch up on the UI. But we don't want to miss any moments, because this one is down to our final 3. Diamond, Hug Me Harder, Chushinanchi, all still in play. Chushinanchi is looking pretty good here. Newly into Diamond. As of just a few days ago, Chushinanchi is looking real good on the HP stakes.
Definitely in a lobby leading position. 40-ish health over second place. Be interested to see. So it looks like they're running a Punk Executioner board. I'd be interested to see what the other 2 players are running as well, just in a little bit more detail. Be able to try and understand what's going on. It seems Pantheon Twitch proving to be the big problems in this board.
Yeah, Pantheon is certainly looking more like Mantheon right now, because he's being able to tank out most of the damage that everyone is dishing out. But yeah, the 2 boards that are versing Chu are actually looking very, very scary, but she's also managing to get to that ascension timer as we take a look at her augments, and she's still managing to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, Pantheon is doing work, just being an absolute rock in the front line to buy that extra time for the Twitch to get scaled up. The front line does disappear a little bit too fast though for Judge and that does spell a problem. Judge does have a 3-star Vex brewing on the bench, but Hug Me Harder is brewing a 3-star Yorick.
That's terrifying.
See, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a little bit afraid of 70,000 ghouls invading my personal space.
There's a Jin headliner, big shot headliner there. That's okay.
It looks like everyone's fishing. Well, so for Hug Me Harder and Diamond, they're both fishing for the 3-star 5 cost, whereas Chashinanchi's fishing for the 3-star 3 cost. The Vex is fully itemized, so Chashinanchi's board will be a lot more powerful, but it feels like it's only a matter of time until, you know, the level 10 boards from Chashinanchi's opponents become too powerful to even remotely deal with.
One would hope that it would only be a matter of time, but a matter of time might just be a touch too long. We'll have to see what comes through. I'm on the edge of my seat with this one.
And it also looks like we had Crab Rave, and now the crabs are actually very scary and very dangerous because you can get your board eliminated, and Diamond My Heart is actually in that elimination threat from this giant crab, because unless you have massive single target damage, your board is getting nuked out.
Oh, good lord.
You need the sustain there. I do think that Diamond has got one of the boards that can actually make it work because of having the Riven with the Bloodthirster, but yeah, anybody who doesn't have pretty serious sustain is going to get nailed, and I believe it's 9 HP you will lose off this. As Jazz is noting in the chat, Kane a particularly good unit for this particular setup. But so Diamond, only Chashinanchi is the only one to actually lose out in that last round, and given that she's got the most HP in the lobby, that's going to hurt. But what she also has is a 3-star Vex, so while we're building towards the 3-star Yorick, Chashinanchi has just come online fully.
One Yorick away. Oh my god, this could actually be a very, very strong board. And this...
Oh, Lordy.
Oh my. Oh my.
Oh, come
Lordy.
on!
Oh, Lordy.
The 3 stars, they're waiting to come online at full force. You can see already that Kane is itemized with the Pentacle Spatula, the Bloodthirster, and the Crown Guard. He is an absolute menace, even at 2-star, ripping into that backline. The competition falls to pieces. Hug Me Harder will take the L here, but will stay alive. This next shop, or next couple of shops for these two players in 2nd and 3rd place, could change everything.
I'm bated breath. Bated breath.
That's a 3-star Kane!
Oh, good lord.
It happened! It's here! The world is ending!
How much damage is that ability doing?
About 5,000.
Oh, very accurate there, DeadlyGhost. 5,400. On the other side, we do not have the 3-star Yorick. Hug Me Harder is, I think, going up against Chashinanchi in this round. We'll find out in a second. If they are, that gives them the reprieve, but... So, Hug Me Harder's going up against... Sorry, Diamond's going up against Chashinanchi's Ghost, which means that on the other side, that's a good evasion for both of them, that the Kane 3 actually doesn't go through and kill anyone this round.
That Kane 3 is never gonna die. It's never gonna die!
Oh, wow. And Chashinanchi just lost. Even after hitting that Vex 3. And, oh, wow. I think it's time to sell the board.
I think it's over.
Here we go. I have to think the 3-star and the board is always going to be better than just a 3-star by itself, though.
Is someone holding a Yorick?
Could be. Could potentially.
We're going for it. Nope. Okay. Well, at least we've got 4 different Yoricks to get beaten up by Kane's Ghost. Shashinanshi will finally have our luck run out up against the real deal this time round. And I can't imagine it's even going to be remotely close. That Kane is a nightmare made flesh. Walks forward, deletes everybody, and also generates infinite gold. Diamond My Heart won't have the chance to spend it though because they take first place. An absolutely astonishing performance.
Oh, I am so happy. I am so happy that we got to see this live. Heartsteel has been my favorite comp for this set, and also Kane, I believe, is a very underutilized unit. So just to see the power of the 3-star Kane come to fruition and just demolish every single opposition with such scrutiny is just mwah, chef's kiss.
Alright, so general friends, that was our second lobby we were showing there. We'll get things underway for round 3 as soon as it's humanly possible, but to do that, of course, we'll need to head to break. So stick with us, we'll be back as soon as possible with our final round today.
Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go! Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Let's go, let's move side to side, let's go. Come on, everybody, bring it in.
Welcome back, everyone. It is time for our final round of play today. Come up in just a few short moments' time. Xica and DeadlyGhost, we have been blessed today with all manner of ridiculousness. We got to witness the ascension of the God Kane himself in our previous game. I don't know if our final round can top that precisely on paper, but I'm hoping we get lucky. Xica, I've asked you every round so far. I'm going to ask you again. We are on Team Xica. We're coming to the final stretch here. We're going to be going up to table 1 here, so I'm going to ask you the opposite question before. When you've been doing well, when things are going great, when everything seems set up for you on a plate to take the entire competition, how do you keep focus and not spiral out from being too successful?
It's three things, and Ghost will have heard me say a couple of these in the last NLC split. Complacency is killer. You cannot get complacent when you're doing well, because that is when you will slip up the most. You become exploitable because you think that exactly what you're doing is working the best. You're leaving no room for adaptation, no room for flexibility, no room for movement. And when you're that constricted, it's very easy to get choked out of whatever you're doing. The second thing is, don't be over or underconfident in yourself. Mental reset is good after both a win and a loss, because it puts you back on a level-headed playing field. You're not worried about being in a situation where you're going to make a mistake because your brain isn't on what you're doing. It's on what ifs or this is fines. And the last one, and the one that arguably is the most important, is being sure that you don't make any drastic change to what you're comfortable with. You're in a position to take everything. You can win it all. The worst thing you can do is turn around and say, actually, I'm going to try this game. Because in the event that doesn't work and you don't know how to run it properly, you're suddenly giving up something you are very happy with, something you're very comfortable running, and throwing it all to the wayside in favor of turning around and saying, nah, this will work. It's not worth it.
Having worked with Xica last split on the NLC Div 2, I can definitely attest to what Xica was saying, and definitely can agree that exiting your comfort zone might actually prove to be much more detrimental than beneficial to you. And so stick to your guns, do what you know best, because it clearly has worked for you and has gotten you to the final lobby. And to quote ABBA, the winner takes it all.
It's true. ABBA has got an answer to basically any question you care to pose. Let's take a quick look before we get into our final game at some of our games from the previous round. So, Boom Shakalaka did manage to win out the lobby with a really interesting, well, sort of slight variant on the Ezreal board for before, like relatively standard Ezreal itemization, but managing to fit in both the Poppy, which we've been seeing everywhere, and also the Viego to the mix as well.
It was a very, very strong board. The underdog story did not die very quickly. In fact, it lived on, surpassed every expectation that we had in this lobby. And I think that just knowing what you want to do off the back of a Heartsteel start was the winning situation here, if you ask me. Because if you don't know what you're doing off the back of that big Heartsteel cash out, you can find yourself floundering. And if you start floundering, you're going to make mistakes. And on that low health, you can't afford a mistake. I said it right when the health dropped that low. It's do or die. Do is ultimately what Boom chose. But we also saw Migukao not be able to do and end up on the die side of the equation.
Alright, let's take a look at one of the other lobbies. So Jazz, in there with the Lucian with the red buff and the double green suits. We do know as of this patch that interaction with the uncapped attack speed has been removed, so he's still very good with a lot of attack speed. He just doesn't have infinite scale anymore. It was still good enough though, alongside the Ezreal, to get the first place.
Yeah, looking at it, it does look like it was another Heartsteel cash out, because I'm seeing a lot of the Heartsteel units still being played, and Jazzy definitely opted into, well, their namesake actually, playing Jazz and an Ezreal carry, because I'm seeing the Radiant Giant Slayer, which is, I believe, Demon Slayer, if I'm not mistaken, Infinity Edge and blue buff, and just having a very massive level 10, level 9 board that can just edge out everything else.
Alright, so thank you for the update for the chatters. It looks like our lobby one, which of course is where we'll be putting our focus, will be coming back and starting soon, but we will have a little bit of delay, so I'll tell you what, just before we do, let's take a quick word about our final lobby. So, assuming this is a... Just gonna double check this is a...
I think that was a lobby
Yeah.
1 lobby.
Yes, it's very easy to accidentally get results from the previous one. Let's see. Alright, never mind. In that case, we'll just focus on getting the game in instead as well. So let's take a quick look and see if we've got the table ready for this one. Because again, this is going to be our top 8 performing players. So that will include Drunken Tsundere. Please tell me how to say that at some point. The B-Lever, Levin, Mr. Duck, Anonymous One, Senor Lois, Hampus, and MZ, who will be our front runners, and of course will also be in Lobby 1 to contest against each other. So I guess just before we start, because we are going to get started in just a few moments' time. Again, if you're in the situation, what are you thinking to yourself, literally moments before the match itself starts?
Ultimately, the outcome doesn't make a massive difference. You've done well today. You're in the first lobby. It shows you've had a good day. And as long as you've had fun, that's what matters. But if you really, really want to push yourself to that win, you play to your comfort. And you really come out on top.
Alright, let's get this one started. This will be table 1. So this is for all the marbles, all the bananas. DeadlyGhost?
Ooh,
Who are you looking for?
Yes!
Oh, no way!
Yes!
No way!
Let's go!
We are getting blessed as the observers, and also my advice to anyone looking to win the tournament is pray to Mordog that you hit, because that can also prove to be extremely effective.
That's an early Yasuo with the Prismatic Organs. We've been here before. This can work quite well. So if Drunken Tsundere decides to stick to that,
well, as we saw in our previous lobby, the Yasuo did not manage to hold out to the power of Boom Shakalaka's board, but Boom had the advantage of having a massive Heartsteel cash out that just gave him a a a good amount of a good amount of board strength.
Alright, well let's see what we've got online. So Brayson has got the ability to go into Heartsteel very soon. You can just find a Stray Aphelios or a Headliner Cassante. So we know that's a decent start. We've also got the potential for the Crowd Diver, or the Edgelord, or even just the straight up Heartsteel. But Brayson, I think, is in a pretty good place to start us off. Of course, we'll be looking out for our players, as we mentioned in the previous game, to have some really strong boards from the off to take advantage of these prismatics all the way through the game.
Definitely gonna be interesting to see what comes through on this first augment and if it influences. I see a Cruel Pact.
Ah,
Rolled
come on.
over, mentally scarred.
Mentally scarred, giving me mental scars by not going for that Cruel Pact.
Oh, and as we've got Prismatic in this lobby, thank you for that update, Enerus. That in lobby 2, apparently they've got Wandering Trainers active as well. So that should be a hell of a fun way to end out today's competition. Honestly, in a casual competition, I'm not too upset if we end up with something completely nuts to end out the day. Because our previous 2 games have built up in intensity, and it's only right that we should maintain that high level in our final game, in our final lobby.
Remind me, what does Wandering Trainer do?
The
It's
triple emblems.
Yes, 3 random emblems. It's massively swingy because you can have some games where you get 3 cohesive emblems, and some games you get 3 which don't work together at all.
Lovely.
Yeah, speaking from a little bit of experience, I had some massive cohesion in a game I played right before we started stream. I had Dazzler, Jazz, and Disco, and you can almost guess that I went for a Jazz Bard headliner.
Nice. I think, yes, the minimum is you get... Sorry, we'll move on for this a second. This isn't even in this lobby. But the minimum definitely is getting 1. The maximum is 3. But for Senior Lois, at least I'm assuming that's what SR stands for, has managed to find a pretty good early country start. So we've got country headliner Tam Kench. Also got ourselves Freaky Friday, which has been very popular through today's tournament, allowing Senior Loris to build up 2 different carries much faster than otherwise.
Definitely gonna be exciting to see. Something that interested me, this Jinx board from Blonde Unicorn, the Lucky Gloves. This Jinx is gonna be scary. Already got the headliner going, and this country board already proving that it can stand up to the likes of the Jinx. I'm interested to see if this Urgot manages to hit that 3-star, and if it does, just how strong it's gonna be.
The Infernal Dreadsteed already proving to be very powerful and just managing to do so much damage. This is a very interesting itemization on the Yasuo. You don't usually see Trickster's Glass and Steadfast Heart on a carry unit. I guess the items are just going to be moved onto. Well, I thought it was the Cassante, but Trickster's Glass is going on to Diabolin for that extra little bit of damage as they transition into the Heartsteel. So we're going full Heartsteel mode.
So we've got Senior Lois and Brayson both undefeated so far. Senior Lois not actually spending super aggressively on keeping that win streak going, so it's going to barely get across the line here. I think the country being the difference maker here, even against the higher level Drunken. It looks like Lois will be the only player to manage to actually do that, or keep hold of that win streak coming through, as we've got ourselves a pretty spread lobby coming into this first carousel.
And that spread could be the difference maker. If things go uncontested for any reason, it's gonna be unique, to say the least.
Yeah, and looking at it right now, people should be gunning mostly towards Believer and the lead that Believer has over the rest of over the rest of the people in the lobby, because Believer has a 2 point lead. So you're ultimately looking at powerful boards, or maybe just try to uh hold one or two units that Believer is going for. However, there is already country from Believer side, and he already has that Tom Kench, another 2-star Tom Kench, and the Samira. So the three country has come in. Even though Believer is on a loss streak, he's still going to be making some good economy.
Yeah, of course, not everybody can come through and get themselves the early win streaks they'd like to have. Otherwise, certainly when everyone's been pushing forward for a stronger setup. I do think Prismatic Ticket is fascinating early choice to take, but breaking back in with Blonde Unicorn has picked up the early move into Disco. Though Lucky Gloves is an interesting choice here. I don't know if this means we're going to be moving out. We saw certainly how powerful this setup could be with Executioners longer term.
Definitely interested to see what direction they go down, because this did start out as a Jinx board as well, so already made one pivot. I'm interested to see, though. I think we had a couple of Heartsteel boards running, and I'm going to keep an eye on those and just see if we have anything like we had in our last round, any last-minute jumps to the top.
Yeah, it's also definitely looking like people have already moved into contesting Believer, because I'm seeing a Tom Kench 2 here on Blonde Unicorn's board. A few other people are holding Tom Kenches or just utilizing them on their boards respectively. So it's looking like people are gunning for that top spot and for all the marbles. And Blonde Unicorn is certainly having a very easy time against Believer here, managing to get a massive win and deal a lot of damage to Believer's health pool.
There's no
Oh
way.
my god!
There's no way!
That was obscene. The Olaf living up to the promise, as Singularis will not make it all the way to stage 2. Nobody will make it to stage 2 with an unblemished record. Believer, though, towards the bottom, as noted before, does seem to be very close to re-rolling a 3-star Tam Kench, and longer term, re-rolling a very promising seeming country game.
With the amount of contest on country this lobby, though, I don't know if it's going to be the smartest play. We'll have to see what Believer deems the best play for the situation. As I said, start of the game, sticking to comfort is definitely going to be a good way to carry out. But knowing when to pivot if you are heavy contested into something else that you're happy to run is also a good skill to have.
Okay. That's an early Ari. Are we going to see the KDA pivot is what I really want to know, because honestly, we're in a prismatic lobby like we talked about last game. The 3 cost and the 4 cost can definitely benefit much more from these prismatic augments. So Believer might have just hit a very promising board.
Alright, we'll see if the Olaf can continue to deliver out the punishment. The double Infinity Edge is pretty spicy. But the only thing we're missing out on is a direct healing item. We're having to rely entirely on the built-in healing in the kit. But, I mean, just in terms of raw strength, this represents a threat for the rest of the lobby. They need to have enough single target to take down this Olaf, or they will just lose.
I'm waiting to see if... I'm sorry there. I'm waiting to see if we're going to see harm assist maybe from Hampus, because of the power of the double Triforce and the Titans coming in. So if we see something like harm assist, that Olaf is going to deal massive, massive amounts of damage.
Hampus currently on the win streak with that friend Olaf, though we don't have too much more on the bench to build up raw power. The Radiant gloves coming in to allow for Poppy to hit a little bit harder and provide that secondary setup. But let's go all the way down to the bottom of the table and check in with Believer, who's been doing the rerolls for a little bit. You mentioned we might be seeing the Ari coming in. I think even just as a stopgap measure, it's trying to keep Believer from dropping too much more HP.
Probably.
Go ahead.
I was thinking that maybe it is going to be a transition into maybe a KDA board and just try to utilize the Ari better, but we haven't seen that happen from Believer despite him taking a win last round. So maybe Believer has something else planned.
I think we could see just a hard pivot into Spellweaver. If we see a hard pivot at all, there is every chance the Marauder is just a stopgap, as mentioned, just to try and tide over the earlier stages of this round. But we'll have to see as it progresses. Believer picking up another win there.
Well, taking stock of where we are, Hampus is still rocking that win streak while we've got Believer and Mentally Scarred down. Sub 70, Brayson barely above, Drunken also in a similar spot. A lot of damage being handed out, I think, by players who are trying to take advantage of this all-prismatic lobby and put out early power. Mentally Scarred moving into Kale, I believe has got 6 Kales already, so has the chance to put the stacked up version online relatively quickly.
A case of how quickly, I think, is the question for me. How quickly can you really get online and start making a massive difference? If it's sooner rather than later, things are going to start to get very, very scary. As we just have a Kale versus Bard, headliner 1v1. And the Kale, apparently, just better.
This is the point where you see the Kale buffs coming in. You have the extra bit of healing from the Omnivamp, from the Bloodthirster. You have Kale now dealing that on-hit damage with every single basic attack, and just the spell being the massive damage that you get. So a Kale without a Rage Blade right now is still very good to have. So you're already seeing those Kale buffs coming into effect.
Well, Believer just picked up the needlessly large rod to complete the Quinsu, so I think this is a chance to see Believer start punching back up the table. As we noted before, everyone from 4th place downwards has a pretty similar amount of HP, so there should be a lot of mobility available for our players in this lobby to get through and start locking those points down. It's worth noting, just before we go any further, where our players are points-wise in this particular lobby, to kind of give an idea of the kind of overall situation here. So the current points leader is Believer on 16 points, ahead of Senior Lois and Mentally Scarred on 14. So if Believer ends out this game strongly, then they will win the competition, basically needing a top 4 finish and just not to crash out in 7th or 8th.
Right now, not looking too hot for them, but it's still early days. There's nothing on the doors just yet. Everything can change anytime soon. I mean, hell, like we saw in our last lobby, even 7 health is too early to call. We'll have to see how Believer can do throughout the rest of the lobby, or if there can be some kind of upset. But now, getting this KDA board online, as Ghost mentioned, it's just going to make life so much easier for Believer to ride through the mid-game.
Yeah. Sadly, we are getting the spectator bug, so unfortunate that we can't see Jazzy's board, but Blonde Unicorn has stuck with the disco and is doing very, very well so far. This is looking like... I know we were skeptical a little bit for the disco from I know we were a bit skeptical for the disco balls, but it's just it's looking very good for Blonde Unicorn.
We leave it up against Mentally Scarred in this round. These are two of our players on a lower amount of HP. I'm loving seeing the Ari setup here. So this is the country ball from before. We wondered if we were going to be seeing the adaptation because of the Ari getting hit this early. And it seems like it's working pretty well so far. Believer's showing great flexibility. And with Ari's single target damage and a very strong looking front line with a 3-item echo, I think Believer's on the path up the table.
Definitely seems so. Showing that flexibility really does come into play. And I love to see that from players in our final lobby, knowing when to just say, okay, I'm being contested, this isn't working, it's time to change things up. Very, very good.
Oh, hello. We've got Brayson here with the big shot set up from before. We know we're expecting this to turn into an Ezreal board longer term, but the big shot headliner certainly allowing with this board to at least get some kills through while riding out this, you know, we've got Living Forge, we've got the Heartsteel. Brayson's got a lot of long-term potential, just needs to make sure it doesn't take too much damage before getting that potential online.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, everybody else in the lobby going to be praying for the death of that Rockstar. Ezreal going to become such a big carry if he does get online. Just a case of will we get to that point? Only time will tell. But I'm going to say I'm cautiously optimistic that we've got a close lobby on our hands.
Thank you so much for that one, Xica. I was trying to think of a way to put it in, but you just went in and did that marvelous pun. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, the big shots are looking very scary. Sadly, it's an all prismatic lobby, so you can't get bigger shot, which was also buffed this patch. But this Kaisa is looking very strong. In this mid game, we know that late game that is going to turn into an Ezreal, and if we do see that Ezreal, that board is going to be scary.
Oh boy. So we're currently looking at Hampus, who has taken very item-focused augments so far, and will continue to do that. So the binary airdrop being combined with having around 3 other powerful items from augments. Hampus is going all in on just raw board power, and so far it's worked pretty well. Lois and Hampus are both win streaking, and you can see at the bottom, Jazz and Mentally Scarred, they're the ones feeling the effects most strongly.
Certainly are. Be interesting to see just what augments we've seen picked up across the board. I think for me, Believer's third augment could be the interesting one, since sitting at the middle of the table now, dropping everything. I believe that's new recruit, so a +1 to team size.
Yeah, yes. We are getting an extra unit on the board. Well, that is a Seraphine 3 for Believer, who also has 5 Spellweavers, 4 KDA, so maybe on the next level up you can get even 5 KDA in. But that Seraphine is currently dealing massive amounts of damage. That is also a 3-star Echo, which is just a massive tank. So this board from Believer is looking fairly scary right now.
Believer's got the big hit in place. I was quite curious to see how long or how good the Seraphine board would be if we don't have Disco in the game, but of course Blonde Unicorn absolutely does have Disco. It's at level 7 with a decent amount of money, and with the AP itemization, of course, being assured by the Lucky Gloves. I presume that we are still staying on this path longer term, but we've seen players in this lobby make some big changes.
Certainly have been seeing a lot of pivots left, right, and center. The headliner Kaisa has been taken off the board for Brayson here, looking for that Ezreal, you would assume. No headliner currently, but it doesn't matter. The big shot doing a lot of work. This Ezreal hitting like nothing more than a small truck, maybe even the one that the Heartsteel lads drive in on.
Just to just a slight correction there. There, Giga. There is a headliner. It's a Blitzcrank headliner
Ah, I missed that.
for
My
the
bad.
Sentinel. Yeah, no worries. And it and Blitzcrank headliner is not uncommon for a Heartsteel board because it just offers you that much more tanky stats, and we're looking at it right now. The Blitzcrank is tanking up everything. The Ezreal with that sniper's focus, with that blue buff, is just dealing massive amounts of damage.
Hampus on top with a 12-round win streak is absolutely dominating for everybody. You see several the players below. Sinaloa is the only one really able to compare. The HP drop-off between the top two and everybody else, including Believer, is absolutely enormous, but none more so dramatic than for Mentally Scarred, whose board looks very, very good, but there is literally no room for error here. A single loss will send Scarred out and prevent them from having any chance of challenging for the crown.
Up against Drunken Tsundere here as well. We'll have to see how this goes. Akali very heavily itemized to get onto that back line. Karthus as well. So we're already seeing one of the carries dead. But there's a Twisted Fate just running its way through. The Mordekaiser doing what it can to soak damage. But this Twisted Fate just dishing it out so much faster. The one shot comes in. It's just the Blitzcrank left now. Mentally Scarred will hold on for another day for now.
Barely holding on for another day, but you can't have you. You need to upgrade your board somehow as Mentally Scarred, and they do have the Freaky Friday augment, so they are going to get that second Trinity Force right now. But I still want to see some upgrades coming into that board because currently it's not looking like the best of boards, and it is going to be very difficult for Mentally Scarred to climb their way up up the ladder. However, we did see last round with Boom Shakalaka that it's still feasible.
Drunken Tsundere is also in a pretty rough spot, though. I shouldn't be eliminated this round at least. The Twisted Fate is looking pretty solid online there as the backliner, but it's not, I think, maybe quite enough damage. Drunken will take a loss, though not a massively damaging one. Goes down to 2 HP. Well, I think there was maybe underestimating how much damage it was going to be. Jazz also takes a loss, so we're down to 3 players on a single life coming into stage 5.
I think there's even a world where Blonde Unicorn could be on that single life as well, depending on how big of a loss they take. 12 HP, not that much higher than the lower echelon of the board, and that really cements a difference between our top 4 and our bottom 4. But upsets have happened. We've seen weirder things in the past, and I'm just waiting to see if we see it again.
And we're seeing Blonde Unicorn just have now the 6 disco, and it's looking very good for Blonde Unicorn. The fact that Drunken Tsundere is just contesting that board means that one of them has to drop out for the other to hit the board very in the higher echelons of just going for the 3 stars of that
Also,
of those board. But currently Burayson is having a very good time with that Zed and with that Ezreal.
absolutely is, and it's also worth mentioning Hampus's win streak did finally get quelled. I'm not sure who by. We're watching Ezreal just ruin a board in front of our eyes.
Oh boy, yeah, so Senior Lewis dropping down a little bit more as Drunken Tsundere will be our first elimination. Mentally Scarred also up. We'll get down to the final unit. Oh my gosh. We've seen this Blitzcrank is very hard to deal with, and I don't think the Akali is the right one to do it as Mentally Scarred goes out. So Drunken out in 8th, Mentally Scarred in 7th. Let's just take a quick look at the points in the lobby just to remind ourselves exactly what's going on here. So Believer is the one who really needs just a solid finish to win the tournament, coming on 16 points. So Lois and Mentally Scarred on 14 points. So they were the front runners to try and leapfrog into first place. We know at least Mentally Scarred is not going to make it happen, but for Senior Lois, that is still an open possibility.
Definitely an open possibility. Sitting currently about 9 health above Believer in this lobby as we see Believer go up against Grayson here with that 3-star Echo ready and waiting.
Looking at this board, Senior Lois has hit the 5 country, however, has not managed to yet hit the 7 country, which is where this board massively evolves. So you need that country's pad to have as effective of a board as possible. However, it's still enough to defeat Blonde Unicorn's board, but not enough to take Blonde Unicorn out. And we see Believer just took a heavy loss. So this tournament might still be up for grabs.
The big thing that changes here with so many players being eliminated is it narrows the position where we might see, let's just pop this up briefly again, the difference between where people will end out. So again, Believer is 2 points ahead of everyone else, which means that Soloist needs to finish 2 places above of Believer to stop them from winning the competition. We'll see what happens, but the window of opportunity for that to even occur is narrowing dramatically, especially if Blonde Unicorn goes out this round.
We lost Jazzy last round, and as you say, if Blonde Unicorn goes out this round, we do secure our top 4, which makes it oh so difficult to try and leapfrog Believer. We'll see how this KDA board does against the Disco. This Echo, sorry, so tanky. The Nico as well. It's just so hard to cut through them to get to this backline. The Ari's still 1-star, but the Seraphine just melting through health bars. As there, we will see Blonde Unicorn fall in 5th, and Soloist drop to 40 health, only 7 above Believer.
Yeah, it's looking like Believer just needs to eliminate Senior Lois, and he will have a very he will have a very easy shot at the top, and it's looking very good right now for Believer. Unless Sir Lois just hits that country spat, which Believer denied from them, it is going to be very difficult to just hit anything and try to contest Believer.
Well, Senior Lois is putting their best foot forward. The prismatic ticket paying off and allowing for access to the 3-star Argot, though disappointingly not as many Samiras as they would like to have at this point in the game. We'll go face to face with their main rival, that 3-star Echo on the front line, the 3-star Nico as well. This is such an incredibly strong front line for the country board to try and punch through.
We'll see if it does so effectively, but this Urgot dropping very quickly. The Seraphine, it's just too much. Believer jumping ahead of Sir Lois. That's not great for the chances of taking the win here today. So Samira comes in. Is that Samira 3?
I
don't think so.
No. I think it was just the second Samira 2, so Lois still has a lot to hit. That's an Amumu 3 though. That's much more impactful. And this board from Sir Lois is looking slightly scarier right now, because he's also very close to hitting Samir 3, the Vex 3, and the Seb 3, which in theory should give Sir Lois enough of a board strength to contest Believer.
Yeah, I got it's the main one left standing with the Vex in the back line. It's looking like St. Lois will be able to punch through and at least take a narrow loss of nothing else. Ezreal, a little bit tricky to catch up to, but one-on-one, as you mentioned before, DeadlyGhost, this Urgot is a nightmare to end rounds with.
Yeah, this Ergot going one-on-one against anyone can basically wipe them out, and Sir Lois just hit the Samira 3, so all he needs right now is the Vex 3 and the Set 3, and that board is going to be much scarier.
Sitting in a very comfortable position, though, only about 17 HP between first and fourth in this lobby. Be interested to see if Elder makes any significant change across the board to any of these lineups.
We can see for Believer, we've got a little bit of itemization missing for Ori, and Nash's Tooth would certainly fit the bill there, so that's a big step forward. We've got upgrades coming in across the board. Senior Lois just hit the Samira 3, now hits the Vex 3 as well. While other boards may grow stronger in time, this is pretty much as good as it gets for Senior Lois.
Yeah,
Hope and pray that when the time comes, you can match up to some of these boards that still have power to scale, and we'll see if they can stand up to Hampus now.
Hampus's board is definitely looking a little better now with that Curtis headliner and that Akali dealing so much damage, and this backline of Sir Lois is getting demolished. However, the Urgot is still going strong, and strong he will remain for the rest of this round. It seems like, because that Akali is doing nothing to him.
I just don't think Hampus has got any chance against this country board at all. We saw how well it dealt with the backline, deleting the Vex, deleting the Samira, but it had no answer to Argot at all. I think with binary airdrop being so prevalent in these late game lobbies, we're seeing so many more carries being itemized and so many more different types of threats that our players' boards need to be able to deal with.
If you can't pick up against them, you are finding yourself in a bit of a tight corner. There's now one Lulu away from Lulu 3. That could be what Believer needs. They're up against Sir Lois, their direct competitor for this first place. We'll see how this fight does go.
The only way for Senior Lois to get the first is to force Believer out in fourth place, and then I believe get a first themselves. So we'll wait for confirmation. I don't know if Admin is also doing the observing, so I don't think you have time to figure that out while also sorting us out with a POV. It's looking like Senior Lois will hand out the hit to Believer, but they will have to leave it in Hampus or Brayson's hands to actually eliminate Believer.
So close. 3 health. I think if that Lulu 3 comes through, that's a different fight. So I'll be keeping an eye on that at the very least to see if they manage to secure that. But now, Brayson, our new lobby leader, this Ezreal Zed combo proving so hard to do anything into.
Oh, Nora, thank you for the raid. Hope you're doing well. Today we're coming close to the end of our competition. This is our third and final round of play. We're here in Lobby 1 with our best performing players from the day battling out for that first place. It's really a two-horse race here. It's Believer and Senior Lois are the only ones with enough points to affect the difference. Believer is still alive for now, and it's looking like this round is going pretty damn well. And that means with Hampus being knocked out of that last round, I do not believe the Believer is catchable anymore.
I believe you are correct. Even if they fall out here, I think they just eke out enough points to at least tie with Sir Lois. I'm just then not sure how tiebreakers go. We'll wait to see if we can get confirmation on that one. But Brayson, again, this lobby lead looking so strong. Just completely ruined Sir Lois's board.
We are getting confirmation from Noodles. I mean, that it's either a tiebreaker win or it will be a raw points win for Believer, however it goes out. So for the rest of the players, it's about getting as many points as they can to try and battle up for second place. I believe Sir Lois is pretty much secured there, but I mean, you want to really be able to end out the tournament on stream with that first place win, and even if you can't take the first in the tournament overall, you can at least get as much glory as you can grab for yourself.
Well, and it also it does seem like Believer just hit the Lulu 3, so that is going to be another upgrade for the board, and Believer is going up against Brayson's board, which is just very huge. But the Echo and the Nico do seem to be tanking up quite a lot, so maybe there's a little bit of hope for this Ari. And as I say that, I have to eat my words.
Believer gone, but very much not forgotten. I'm going to quickly chuck out an ask to see if they can come on stream for us once this is done, since we've had it confirmed. The Believer has won out on points overall. For Senior Lewis and Brayton, it will be the honour of taking the first place in our final lobby. Suddenly, Senior Lewis's board is scary indeed, but Brayson's got multiple lives left to play with.
Multiple is definitely the name of the game here. I mean, this Ezreal board is so damn strong. It can't quite kill out this Urgot based on the last time we saw these two fight, but that was a little while ago now. So I'll be interested to see if it's found some way to keep the Ezreal alive long enough to break the Urgot apart. Only time will tell, as it seems Ezreal has just jumped somewhere. I don't actually know where. There he is.
He's very sneaky.
The Urgot does go down, and now it's just this 3-star set, but I don't think it's got enough damage.
And Brayson is taking the win in this final lobby. However, because they did not have enough points, they cannot contest the leader that was Believer. And it turns out that you may eliminate Believer from the lobby, but you can't stop him from winning out the tournament. So it turns out you don't stop, Believer.
Yeah, we figured out. We had a bit planned. I've completely forgot about that bit while I was doing other things. So thank you for DeadlyGhost for picking that one up. Let's see. I'm just gonna tell Believer we're gonna try and bring them in now, so they're not completely surprised. So this will be a few words from our friend and yours. There we go. Believer, I believe you can hopefully hear us now.
Hello?
Hello! Congratulations on your tournament win. That was a hell of a final game. I'll ask the obvious question. How does it feel to be the winner of Kansas Casual Competition number 71?
Well, if it was my first time, I would be really excited. But you know, that weared off real quickly. So, winning for third time, that's a nice feeling, I could say.
Yeah,
Well,
I would say that's fair enough. I have to ask, the decision to pivot in game number 3 was a very, very good one. But at what point did you kind of realize that you had to start moving?
To be fair, I wasn't really planning to go country. I just knew that country is real solid early on. Putting as much country units early is giving your Dreadstone a lot of HP, so you're gonna kill like 2 or 3 units, which is really healthy. And when I just saw Ari, I thought, okay, I have Gunblade, I have Shojin, maybe like Lulu. I tried to go Lulu reroll, didn't find Lulu, found Seraphine, just went for it. That's it.
I mean, you did hit the Lulu 3 towards the end there, so at least she managed to help you out get to that top 3 and just secure the win for the tournament. So I just wanted to ask, what has been your comfort for this set and more specifically for this tournament?
Well, I mainly played whatever I hit. On the second game, I got really lucky. I hit 3 Heart Steel on 2-1, and then I hit 5 Heart Steel on after Carousel. Then I went on 12 lose streak thanks to my final reserves, and that just really secured me easy level 10 and just have an insane board. And for game one, it was more of a gamble, but it paid off. Now I carried, and then I just got a casual pentakill core, so you can't really expect much.
Nice.
Well,
Well, so to look into the wider picture then, so Believer, what how would you, if other people are looking at your performance and again want to be like just like you and improve, what would you say has been the most helpful thing for you in your improvement as a TFT player?
Well, I might be a little bit biased, and when I mean a little, I mean a lot of biased. But the biggest standpoint was me started playing double up. Because one
Okay.
thing what you're gonna realize, you're gonna find the caps of regular boards way lower. And like seeing what is the most game changing is really easily seen there. Uh, and you could have like an insane 10 pentakill board, but you will not realize that if you stayed 8 and rolled 4 Carthus 3, he would be a little bit stronger than 9th Penta, which could land you one spot higher.
Okay, that's really
And
interesting.
and to be fair, just don't take the game too seriously. Try new builds, just have a fun with the game, and you're just gonna stumble upon some interesting boards. Bruiser Lux. And maybe some other ones which you gonna just stick in and climb.
Very nice.
So, following on from that question in a sense, what boards are you kind of thinking at the moment just aren't really as strong as people think they are, if any?
Well, again, I might be super biased, but since the set release, I thought Disco is utterly garbage. That comp is just really easy to counter, just people don't care about it, just play the same comps which actually lose to it, so it's kind of funny. Then also, I would say Pentakill is a little bit overrated because yeah, Karthus is strong, Akali is strong, but it doesn't mean you have to go vertical pentakill, and that 5-7 buffs are way less important than getting like a Ilaoi and Lucian too, which could absolutely make you a Giga Beast. So I would say that's also a real big standpoint. I don't really know more in particular because everything is kind of balanced if you look at it.
yeah. Before we wrap it up, just one small thing that I wanted to ask is, do you feel right now that level 8 is a little bit easier to roll down on at level 9? Because I've seen a lot of players just try to go for the risky move and go to level 9 to roll down. Could you achieve the same board strength from level 8, and is that something that you've picked up as well from double up?
Yeah, to be fair, that's a really rough question because there's a lot of things you have to consider. Like one of them is how strong is the lobby? I have played some interesting games where I had like such a weak board and I was like 12 streaking, so that was also interesting. And at the same time, like I had an insane gap, and yet everyone in the lobby is just way higher gap. So that's a really big standpoint. And just knowing what items do well on certain units, and then being way like specific, but no general idea. Like if you have, for example, Devblade IE BT, I think no one really would pick Akali when she's an AD carry, which is also really interesting thing I really spot on. Also Poppy, people just either itemize tank or damage. you'll never see like even Shroud, IE, Stacks, Poppy running around because people won't just try it.
All right.
And
So,
if you like,
sorry,
and,
believe it.
and
I just want to. I'll cut you off there because we've kind of run out of time, I'm afraid. But just before we let you go today, because it sounds like you've got some really interesting stuff to say, is there anywhere that people can hear more of your thoughts? You know, do you have any social medias or streams that you'd like to shout out so people can get into depth with you?
I don't know. I'm just often just hanging out on the Discord. I don't really have much time to play, so I'm just gonna hop in, hop out. Maybe if you want, you could just stay in Cantor's chat. Just maybe ask something. I could maybe respond. You know,
Okay. Well, that's
but
very generous
no
of you.
social media.
Alright, Believer, we're going to have to let you go so we can get on with our giveaways, but thank you so much for your in-depth knowledge. We'll drop you back down in the chat. So if anyone wants to ask Believer for any insights into the meta, do drop into... I think I'll drop you into Out of Game, and anyone can head there to get some sick knowledge bombs. Thank you so much for joining us, Believer, and congratulations on your tournament win.
Hey, thank you for inviting, firstly.
That's alright. Alright, so, gentle friends, we have got one more thing to take care of before we're done here today, which is going to be our Wheel of Names. So, let's head across here. So, of course, we've got our first and second place, which is Senior Lois and Believer, but we've got 3 more players, which we're going to be checking to see who will win our extra bonus prizes. So, let's grab everybody else. Stick them in here. That should be all of our other players. So, for our 3 giveaways, DeadlyGhost, would you mind counting us in for the first one?
Let's get ready to roll in 3, 2, 1.
Oh my gosh! Who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be? It's Mr. Duck. It's our first random winner. Congratulations. Drew, would you mind counting us in for person number 2?
Well, sure. In a 3, a 2, a 1.
I'm glad I didn't have to ask you to make a silly voice. You just went ahead. That's wonderful. Our number 2 will be Nettie. Congratulations, Nettie. Our second random winner, and last of all, I'll tell you what. Let's honor our streamers still, because I know there's also people who are a little sad about not having these streamers recognized. So we'll still do our stream giveaway, though we're not actually using the streams anymore, but just to support the TFT streamers we've got in the competition. So I'm gonna count myself in for our third and final one, which is 3, 2, 1, whee! And our streamer who shall be honored today is Anonymous One. Congratulations, Anonymous One. Is our streamer winner. So for everybody who won something, please do, of course, come and let us know that is the case. If you add me on EUWest under counterfeit hashtag EUWest, that's my main account for sending out prizes from, because just the way things work, really. If you don't add me, I won't be able to send you, so please do get that done as soon as possible, and I'll try and get those prizes out to you as soon as we can. So with that in mind, the last couple of order of businesses are to, firstly, ask the same question to you, Xica, as we asked to for Believer. Do you have anything you'd like to shout out and let people be aware of?
Just that if you wanted to catch more of me and what I do, my Twitter is down here somewhere, where you can find any of casts that I am undertaking or any streams that I am doing under university leagues and the like.
Alright, and Deadly G, the same for you.
I want to shout out Counterfeit Cast for inviting me to do this tournament. I know who'd have thunk.
Absolutely wild, but anything for yourself? If someone says, that DeadlyGhost, I want to be just as cool as them. Well, you know, I've posted your Twitter in the chat, but are there anything else that you're working on, any of the projects, or shenanigans you've gotten up to?
Currently, I've been preoccupied a little bit with a few things in my personal life. However, I have just procured a game by the name of Baldur's Gate 3. So I'm planning on streaming my adventures of that game, and also uh, going on a heavy grind into TFT. So be on the lookout for twitch.tv/DeadlyGhost96 for that TV grind, as I nearly dropped my phone.
Alright, having a quick look through to see which new person we can throw on a quick raid to, who's gonna firstly notice that we're doing it, and secondly we can maybe try and recruit for future tournaments. Let's see. Who's European but speaks English? There's quite a lot of people. Apparently this is a good time for streamers from the Philippines, but I don't know if they'd be interested in playing today. Oh wait, this person is a shoutcaster apparently. Runaway, it's Lubu. Alright, I've never heard of them before, but I'm not expecting to necessarily. So let's go across and check out Runaway, it's Lubu. It's intended for mature audiences, so if that's not something you'd be interested in, then please don't come with us on the raid. But for now, thank you so much. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time for the next competition. Again, please go check out Xica and DeadlyGhost. Their links to their Twitters are in the chat. And in esports, social media clout is literally how we get jobs. So please go and support both of them. Let's go check out Runaway, it's Lubu, and we'll see y'all in 2 weeks' time. Alright, we did it.
We survived. Quickly, once you end your stream, if you